Chapter 639. This blood-red light beam contains some sort of grudge that can corrode one's soul. Is this the true purpose of the burying emperor's coffin? To corrode this man's soul. Chu Kuangren murmured. Then he slowly walked forward and reached out his hand to touch the man's body. The book of physiques in his soul instantly reacted. The chaos physique was the #1 physique among the 3,000 Taoist physiques. To Chu Kuangren, it was a rare research material. There was probably no other physique in the entire firmament star that could match it. At that thought, Chu Kuangren no longer tried to figure out why the white-robed man was trapped here. Instead, he began to study this physique. However, at that moment, the void in front of him trembled, and a gigantic face appeared before him. It was a pitch-black face with indistinguishable facial features. However, a pair of pitch-black eyes were like two black holes. A strange and inexplicable power flowed into the eye and invaded it. That energy suppressed one's soul. However, Chu Kuangren had already cultivated to the 12th level of the Bodhi Lotus scripture. That soul energy was completely useless against him. You're immune to my will? How can a mere ant below the Emperor realm be immune to my will? Tell me, who are you? The gigantic face stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. Chu Kuangren stared back at that face and activated his Eye of Revelation. A manifestation of the underworld God's will, an expert in Soul Tao. The manifestation of the underworld God's will. It seemed that all the soul attacks he had suffered along the way were caused by this guy. Another so-called God? Through his Eye of Revelation, he could tell that this manifestation of the underworld God's will was only an expert in Soul Tao and had no other offensive techniques. In other words, it was no threat to him. At that thought, a playful smile appeared on Chu Kuangren's face. He had been meeting a lot of gods lately. The Divine Light God, the Dark God, and now the Underworld God. Weren't these gods a little too cheap? Or was it because he was too lucky to meet them? Heh, what an interesting guy. At that moment, a chuckle came from beside Chu Kuangren. He turned around and saw a white-robed man sitting on top of the white-robed man, looking at him curiously. This white-robed man was the dormant white-robed man. However, he was not in a physical form but a spiritual form. Tao Master of Chaos, I didn't expect you to suddenly awaken. The will incarnation of the Nether God was also startled by the sudden voice, and it turned to look at the white-robed man with a cold snort. Yo, God of the Underworld, long time no see. The white-robed man looked at the embodiment of the will of the Nether God and smiled faintly, as if he was greeting an old friend. However, the incarnation of the Nether God's will did not have any joy in its eyes. It looked at the white-robed man with endless coldness in its eyes. Young man, you have a familiar aura. It's the Bodhi Lotus Sutra. What's your relationship with Putuo? The white-robed man, the Chaos Taoist master, looked at Chu Kuangren and asked curiously, Putuo? Chu Kuangren took out the golden corpse that he had obtained earlier and said, I obtained this Lotus Sutra from him. The Chaos Taoist master's expression changed when he saw the golden corpse, and then he looked at the incarnation of the Nether God's will with a gloomy expression. You killed him. Oh, it's him. I can't even remember how many eras it was. This guy overestimated himself and wanted to save you. So he and a large group of people tried to open the Emperor burial coffin. However, he was the only one who entered, and in the end, he couldn't even withstand the language of the underworld god. The incarnation of the Nether Gods will set in disdain. Then it seemed to have thought of something, and it looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Did you obtain this Lotus Sutra from this corpse? Yes. Impossible. You've only been in the Emperor burial coffin for 3 months. If you obtained the Lotus Sutra from this corpse, how could your soul energy resist the language of the underworld god and come here? The incarnation of the Nether Gods was in disbelief. How could one's soul be reborn to such an extent in just 3 months? Moreover, it was in a place like the Emperor burial coffin. It was ridiculous. So I've been cultivating this Lotus Sutra for more than 3 months. Chu Kuangren had a look of realization on his face. The incarnation of the Nether God's will, and the Chaos Taoist master were stunned. You actually care about this? Isn't the main point that you've cultivated the Lotus Sutra to such an extent in just 3 months? What kind of freak has entered this Emperor burial coffin? The underworld god's consciousness clone. and the Chaos Taoist Master. I don't really care about the grudges between you two, but this body of yours is quite useful to me, Chaos Taoist Master. Chu Kuangren looked at the Chaos Taoist Master's body and continued to study it, planning to make it his own. The Chaos Taoist Master had an indescribable feeling of being stared at by Chu Kuangren. However, he could not figure out what Chu Kuangren was trying to do, and he could only move his soul. He could not do anything to Chu Kuangren at all. Kid, do you really think this Emperor burial coffin is a place where you can do whatever you want? The underworld god's consciousness clone snorted, and a terrifying surge of energy erupted from its huge face. A series of strange syllables were spat out from its mouth, carrying with it a mysterious soul fluctuation that continuously attacked Chu Kuangren's soul. However, the Bodhi spirit was indestructible. Even the underworld god's consciousness clone could not do anything to Chu Kuangren. How can this be? Even an emperor's soul can't withstand my attack, so how can you resist it? In just 3 short months, how far have you cultivated the Lotus Sutra? The underworld god's consciousness clone could not believe what it was seeing. Even if it was only a strand of its consciousness clone, the person in front of it was only a cultivator below the emperor realm. How could his soul be so strong? You're very noisy. Chu Kuangren glanced at the underworld god's consciousness clone and raised his hand to unleash his invincible technique. The cosmos reversal power instantly erupted. That punch caused the surrounding chaotic chi to rumble, and it immediately destroyed the underworld god's consciousness clone. Profound. How can a cultivator below the emperor realm profound? The Chaos Taoist Master was a little shocked. He had lived for countless years and had seen countless sky prides, but he had never seen anyone who could master profound techniques below the emperor realm. Could it be that he had been trapped in this emperor burial coffin for so long that the outside world had been turned upside down to such an extent? Even a cultivator below the emperor realm could easily master profound techniques? The Chaos Taoist Lord did not know that the Chu Kuangren in front of him was the most unreasonable freak in history. He could not be judged by the logic of a normal cultivator. Kid, just you wait. I'll be back. The voice of the underworld god's consciousness clone came from within the chaotic chi. It seemed like Chu Kuangren's punch did not destroy the underworld god's consciousness clone. However, Chu Kuangren was not surprised. Obviously, he had expected that. The Eye of Revelation showed that the underworld god's consciousness clone was connected to the emperor burial coffin. As long as the emperor burial coffin was not destroyed, the underworld god would not disappear. Chapter 640. After the incarnation of the underworld god left, Chu Kuangren continued to study the Chaos Taoist Master's chaos physique. He realized that although the Chaos Taoist Master looked fine on the outside, his insides were already riddled with holes. Otherwise, the primal chaos aura wouldn't have escaped from his body uncontrollably. These were the fruits of the Chaos Taoist Master's many years of cultivation. While he was studying the chaos physique, Chu Kuangren looked at the Chaos Taoist Master, who was staring at him curiously. Why don't you tell me about the situation inside this emperor burying coffin, and what happened between you and the underworld god? Sounds good. But before that, I have a question for you. Go ahead. What's your name? Only then did Chu Kuangren remember that he had not introduced himself. He smiled and said, My apologies for my negligence. My name is Chu Kuangren. The Chaos Taoist Master smiled. If you want to talk about me and the underworld god, you'll have to start from the primordial era. Primordial era? Wow, that's quite a long time ago. Chu Kuangren was intrigued. The primordial era was an extremely long time ago. So long that one had to use a yuan year to record the changes in time. A yuan year was equivalent to 129,600 years. It had been 66 yuan years since the primordial era. During the primordial era, when the heavenly Tao was first born, there were many powerful beings in the firmament star. Back then, the humans were as weak as ants, and they were nothing more than food to the endless stream of ancient creatures. However, later on, some of the living beings in the primordial era realized that the lowly and weak humans actually possessed a unique power. When the humans had extreme trust or respect for them, that unique power could actually strengthen their abilities. The ancient living beings called that power the power of faith. Hence, the concept of the gods came into being. The humans believed in the gods, and the gods helped the humans overcome their hardships by obtaining the power of faith from the humans. The two complemented each other. That period of time was known as the era of the ancient deities. However, things changed later on. Through observing nature and the divine power of the gods, humans gradually grasped abilities similar to those of the gods through acquired methods. That was the origin of the firmament star realm cultivators. After understanding cultivation, the humans gradually became stronger. Although they were still no match for some of the powerful ancient creatures, they were no longer as reliant on the gods. At this point, the gods could no longer sit still. Without the power of faith, their abilities could not be strengthened, and because of some kind of restriction, they could not learn the cultivation methods of the human race. Thus, a group of gods held a meeting. They decided to let the human race suffer, and then they would lend a helping hand. This way they could regain faith. Moreover, they secretly suppressed the human cultivator factions, not allowing them to grow too strong, preventing them from exceeding their control. This method was indeed effective. In the face of the endless disasters, the human cultivators, who had just risen to power, could not resist at all. Soon they went back to seek help from the gods. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. The whereabouts of the gods were exposed, and they faced resistance from the human race. Although the human race was weak and was suppressed by the gods, the blood of the human race did not cool down. The human race refused to be a captive sheep. The human race would never be slaves. As they fought back again and again, the human cultivators grew stronger and stronger. Gradually, they gained the power to fight against the gods. At the beginning of the ancient times, the war against the gods began. This was a long, drawn-out war. Although the humans now possessed the power to rival the gods were born from the firmament star. Some of the stronger gods had even reached a state where they would not die as long as the firmament star was not destroyed, so it was impossible for them to be destroyed. Therefore, the human race could only seal the gods one by one. The Chaos Taoist Master was one of the main forces in the war against the gods. The god he fought was the strongest among the gods, the underworld god. Although the Chaos Taoist Master and some other human powerhouses worked hard, they finally sealed the underworld god into the endless void. However, the Chaos Taoist Master was also heavily injured. His physical body and soul were both locked in this emperor-burying coffin, trapped until now. Although my physical body is heavily injured and my soul is extremely weak after being locked in here, it is not easy to kill me with the underworld god sealed. The Chaos Taoist Master smiled faintly. That is why there are rumors of death when the emperor-burying coffin passes through. The incarnation of the underworld god wants to gradually disintegrate your soul by collecting the resentment of billions of living beings. Death when the emperor-burying coffin passes through? The Chaos Taoist Master frowned. What do you mean? Chu Kuangren then told him about the legend of the emperor-burying coffin. The Chaos Taoist Master was even more confused after hearing this. There was only an incarnation of the underworld gods in the emperor-burying coffin. Even if the experts of the human clan couldn't save me, they should have had a way to suppress it. Why did they let the emperor-burying coffin slaughter billions of lives of the human clan? Also, Putua was just a small soldier who followed me around. Why did he come to save me? There must be someone more proficient in Soul Dao than him. I have too many questions. Little guy, can you tell me about the situation outside? Chu Kuangren nodded. Sure. He then told him everything he knew. Now it was the Chaos Taoist Master's turn to listen. When he heard about the era of Dharma's end and the ancient era, he could not help but be shocked. He could not believe that the human race had become so weak. When he heard about the 9 heavens, he was even more confused. The 9 heavens? What the hell is that? Why haven't I heard of it before? The changes in the outside world are much bigger than I thought. It seems that many things have happened after I was trapped in the emperor-burying coffin. The Chaos Taoist Master shook his head and said emotionally, Little guy, have you heard of the heavenly yellow Taoist Master? No. What about the Taoist Master Jian Linglong? Nope. What about the Buddhist Master? He's the Grand Master of Putul. I know about the founder of the Buddhist sect, but whether or not the Buddhist master exists is still an unsolved mystery. I'm not sure. The Chaos Taoist master asked a few people, but Chu Kuangren had never heard of any of them. However, he made a mental note of them. After a series of questions, the Chaos Taoist master gave up. He was sure that the outside world was no longer the same as the one he knew. He did not know if the old friends in his memory still existed. The atmosphere became quiet. What are you doing? The Chaos Taoist master glanced at Chu Kuangren and asked. Researching your Supreme Taoist physique. Researching? You can even research the Supreme Taoist physique. The Chaos Taoist master looked at Chu Kuangren strangely. Then his body trembled as if he had seen something unbelievable. You have the aura of many Taoist physiques on you? How did you do it? Researching. Chu Kuangren said seriously. The chaos physique was indeed the #1 Taoist physique. Chu Kuangren estimated that he had spent 10 days to research less than half of it. During these 10 days, he did not stay idle either. Whenever he had the chance, he would grab the Chaos Taoist master and ask him about cultivation realms. After all, the Chaos Taoist master was an ancient being. If he did not seize this opportunity, he would have wasted his time in the emperor burying coffin. Chapter 641. The Emperor Realm is divided into 3 realms. The Emperor Realm is divided into the Emperor Realm, the Heavenly Honorable Realm, and the Taoist Realm. The Emperor Realm is divided into 9 realms. The lower 3 realms are the Lesser Mastery, the middle 3 realms are the Greater Mastery, and the upper 3 realms are the Full Mastery. Amidst the chaos, a gentle voice rang out as if he was preaching. It was the Chaos Taoist Lord who was explaining the Emperor Realm to Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren looked like he had a sudden realization. He pondered for a while before he asked, "Do immortals exist in this world?" The question stunned the Chaos Taoist Lord. He then smiled and shook his head. "So many years have passed, but I can't believe that the cultivators of this world are still struggling with this question." "All right then, I'll tell you about it. Legend has it that immortals come from beyond the heavens. They once visited the firmament world in ancient times and came into contact with the first batch of human cultivators. They once said that the end of the path of cultivation is immortals. However, the immortals disappeared after that. However, the concept of immortals has been passed down. I can't believe that there are still cultivators who are researching this topic." Chu Kuangren pondered. "I see." Buzz buzz at that moment, Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. A surge of chaotic energy suddenly emerged from his body and spread in all directions. Did it really work? The Chaos Taoist Lord was dumbfounded. He did not expect Chu Kuangren to be able to use the power of the chaos physique after studying his body for more than 10 days. What kind of power was that? "I've obtained the #1 Taoist physique among the 3,000 physiques." Chu Kuangren smirked. He could feel that the chaos physique was extremely powerful. Almost no one in the same realm could match up to the chaos physique. "Kid, here I come again." At that moment, a gigantic face suddenly appeared in the chaos. It was the incarnation of the netherworld God's will. It stared at Chu Kuangren with a cold, murderous intent. "This time, I won't fail like the last time. I'd like to see what tricks you have up your sleeves." Gates of the underworld, open. Amidst the chaos, a strange fluctuation emerged. A black door with countless ferocious ghosts carved on it suddenly appeared. Thousands of ferocious ghosts and Yakshasuras rushed out from the door and pounced towards Chu Kuangren. A form of soul energy. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. These soul forms possessed offensive abilities. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated his technique of invincibility. With a single punch, he shattered the thousands of evil spirits. But it was of no use. There was almost no end to the evil Asuras. Chu Kuangren continued to attack, shattering them into pieces. Meanwhile, the Ashura ghosts let out strange cries as they attacked. It was either a wretched howl or a shrill scream. These voices were constantly disturbing Chu Kuangren's soul. The gate of the underworld. "I didn't expect you to be able to use this will incarnation to communicate with your main body in the void and release the gate of the underworld." The Chaos Tao Master's expression changed slightly. The gate of the underworld was one of the divine abilities of the god of the underworld. This divine ability could transform the soul power of the god of the underworld into thousands of evil ghosts and demons, which could be used to launch the most brutal attacks against the enemy. In the primeval era, once the god of the underworld used this move, everything within 1,000,000 miles would be covered by evil ghosts and demons, turning it into a purgatory. That's right. Chaos Tao Lord, do you think you can seal me forever? After so many years, your seal has already cracked. Although it's not enough for me to completely escape, it's enough for my will incarnation to communicate with my main body and activate the gate of the underworld. These Ashura ghosts may not be able to harm your physical body, but it's more than enough to deal with this kid. The god of the underworld's will incarnation sneered. He then looked at Chu Kuangren. Young lad, no matter how strong your soul energy is this time, the soul energy of my real body is limitless. The evil spirits and rakshasas in my door of the underworld are also limitless. Where can you run to in this emperor-burying coffin? He was a little smug. However, Chu Kuangren remained calm as he looked at the evil ghost and demon in front of him and chuckled. Are you planning to fight a battle of attrition with me? Unfortunately, among all the battles, I'm most proficient in protracted battles. He took a step forward and charged into the crowd of evil ghosts. He unleashed all kinds of Tao techniques. Countless evil ghosts and demons were destroyed by him one by one. It's a shame that my main body is sealed, so this gate of the underworld can't transfer too much soul power to me at once. Otherwise, I could condense an emperor-level evil ghost and kill him for sure. The god of the underworld's will incarnation thought to himself. However, he then looked at Chu Kuangren, who was still unleashing his emperor techniques, and sneered. Although I can't kill you at once, there's still a limit to one person's strength. Let's see how long you can last. The battle continued. The god of the underworld's will incarnation and the Chaos Taoist master were watching. However, they gradually realized that something was wrong. This kid's Tao is being honed through this endless battle. The Chaos Taoist master was a little surprised. The god of the underworld's will incarnation also noticed that Chu Kuangren's Tao was constantly improving during the battle with the evil Ashura ghost. He would use this battle as a capital to improve himself. The Tao of invincibility was to be undefeatable and undefeatable. Such a Tao could only be fully displayed in battle. To Chu Kuangren, battle was a way to verify what he had learned, and it was also a process where he could fill in the gaps and improve himself. To him, battle was a form of enjoyment. Let's see how long you can last. The god of the underworld's will incarnation glared at Chu Kuangren, who was getting stronger as the battle progressed. He refused to believe that Chu Kuangren's spiritual power had no limits. This battle, it lasted for a long time. It was so long that Chu Kuangren's spiritual power and Emperor's Qi were almost depleted. But he was incomparably contented. Vaguely, he had reached the bottleneck of the ultimate Tao. Above the ultimate Tao was the Emperor's Tao. As long as I break through this bottleneck, my Tao will be able to reach the Emperor's Tao. Just a little bit more. Chu Kuangren said with a burning gaze. He wants to prove his Tao through strength. The Chaos Taoist master looked at Chu Kuangren and could not help but exclaim. Although it was not common to use strength to prove one's Tao during his era, it was not rare either. However, he did not expect Chu Kuangren to use the gate of the underworld to prove his Tao through strength under such circumstances. That was a crazy move. His Tao is very unique. Perhaps that's why he's able to use this method to prove his Tao. But will it really work? The Chaos Taoist master murmured. He could sense that the spiritual power and Emperor's Qi within Chu Kuangren's body was almost depleted. At that moment, a huge suction force suddenly erupted from Chu Kuangren's body, sucking in the surrounding chaotic Qi into his body. The universal cauldron physique was activated. As the chaotic Qi was refined, the spiritual power and Emperor's Qi within Chu Kuangren's body were quickly replenished, and his aura was once again at its peak. Is that even possible? The Chaos Taoist master and the god of the underworld's will incarnation were dumbfounded. Fight! Fight! Chu Kuangren laughed. With the descendant self-sword in his hand, he battled against the endless evil spirits and demons, gradually entering a state of oblivion. Chapter 642. Inside the Burial Emperor's Coffin. The battle between Chu Kuangren and the evil spirit Rakshasa raged. It was unknown how long the battle had lasted. A month? 2 months? Chu Kuangren could not remember. However, the more he fought, the more excited he became. Gradually, he entered a realm where he forgot himself, and his understanding of his Tao increased rapidly. Somehow, there was a barrier in front of him. Break it. Break this barrier. Every thought in Chu Kuangren's mind and every nerve in his brain were screaming. Break it, break it. Oh no, is he going to achieve the Emperor realm? The Nether Gods will clone's expression changed. He was not afraid that Chu Kuangren would achieve the Emperor realm. Even if Chu Kuangren became an emperor immediately, he would not be able to destroy the Burial Emperor's coffin and kill him. However, he was here to kill Chu Kuangren. How could he accept that he was helping someone else achieve the Emperor realm? Gates of the underworld close. The Nether Gods will clone wanted to retract his technique. However, as if Chu Kuangren had sensed his intention, a terrifying surge of energy suddenly erupted from behind him. It turned into a giant avatar that rushed to the gates of the underworld and forcefully blocked it. The power of that avatar was terrifying. It even contained the power of several supreme Taoist physiques, including Chu Kuangren's newly acquired chaos physique. During the battle, he had integrated it into his avatar. The Nether God's expression changed drastically. This guy. Being affected by the Thousand Taoist avatar, he could not completely close the gates of the underworld. After all, he was just a will clone, so he could not use the Nether God's divine ability as he wished. Not to mention that his body was still sealed. Azura demons, come again. The more the merrier. Chu Kuangren laughed out loud. The Thousand Taoist avatar opened the gates of the underworld, and countless Azura demons that were formed from the Nether God's soul energy rushed out. Chu Kuangren once again rushed forward to fight them. His Tao of invincibility and technique of invincibility were becoming more complete. Crack vaguely, a crisp sound rang in Chu Kuangren's mind. It was as if something had shattered. It was the barrier that led to the Emperor realm. Break. Chu Kuangren let out a long roar, and an explosion erupted in his mind like a thunderclap. That barrier was instantly blasted into pieces. An incomparably thick Emperor's aura quickly spread out with him as the center, shaking the entire burying Emperor coffin. On this day, Chu Kuangren attained his Taoist Tao in his coffin. Desolate forbidden land, black soil. Known as the most ominous place, the Black Earth buried the most ominous burial Emperor's coffin, which was why this place was desolate and uninhabited. But today, the black soil suddenly began to shake. A terrifying ripple spread out from the black soil. The entire Emperor's Road was affected by this ripple. In an instant, the wind and clouds changed color, and heaven and earth shook. The profound tune of the Tao reverberated in the sky as golden lotuses appeared, dragons and phoenixes manifested, golden auspicious clouds converged, and various other phenomena occurred. Within the Emperor's Road, all the ancient orthodoxies were instantly alarmed. What's going on? Where did this terrifying phenomenon come from? Heavens, did someone become a martial emperor? The Emperor Mountain is not open yet. Who could become a martial emperor? Where did this phenomenon come from? Why can't I sense it? The source of this phenomenon is too terrifying. It's not something that people of our cultivation realm can sense. Emperor, this is definitely related to an emperor. All the orthodoxies cultivators were alarmed. They rushed out into the sky and sent surges of spiritual thoughts across the Emperor's Road. Countless emperors were trying to find the source of the phenomenon. However, no matter how much they pushed their spiritual thoughts to the limit and scanned every corner of the Emperor's Road, they still could not pinpoint the source of the phenomenon. The fluctuation of this phenomenon was so intense that it covered the entire Emperor's Road and affected countless living beings. There was no way to find out. Meanwhile, far above the 9 heavens, the emperors had also sensed this fluctuation. This aura. Someone has become an emperor. That can't be right. The Emperor Mountain is not open yet. Who has the ability to become an emperor? Wait, the Emperor Mountain is not open yet. Could it be? Some emperors sucked in a cold breath. Someone had become an emperor before the Emperor Mountain was opened. There could only be one reason for that. That was this person had proven his Tao through strength. Proving one's Tao through strength was simply too difficult. Even in ancient times, not many people could do it. Not to mention, it was in this era. How monstrous must this person be to prove his Tao through strength? Wait, could it be that little guy? The little guy who solved the demon plague? Yes, I heard that this person has also entered the Emperor's Road and caused quite a commotion. He has offended quite a few ancient orthodoxies. It can't be him. At this moment, an indifferent voice came from the vast universe. The emperors were very surprised. It's Celestial Venerable Yu. Celestial Venerable Yu has also been alarmed by this emperor's Tao aura. The voice rang out again. The disaster of the emperor burial coffin was solved by this person, but he was also sucked into the coffin. To prove one's Tao and become an emperor in the coffin is too far-fetched. I see. What a pity. This person's talent can be said to be unprecedented. If he can become an emperor, he will definitely achieve great things in the future. Yes, the emperors communicated for a while before dispersing. The vast universe returned to its cold and dead silence. Meanwhile, in a palace in the depths of the universe, an old man in a white robe suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze pierced through the dark universe, through the clouds, and landed on the Emperor's Road. In this era, there's someone who can prove his Tao through strength, and under such special circumstances too. I'm afraid this person has an unparalleled luck. Perhaps this person will be the key to breaking out of this predicament in the future. Chu Kuangren. I need to pay attention to this person. In another place, on top of a huge floating meteorite, a middle-aged man in a purple gold robe was also looking at the firmament star from afar. An obscure light flashed across his eyes as he murmured, "The Emperor Burial Coffin Chaos. Could this be your masterpiece?" At this moment, a blood-red mist streaked across the void from thousands of kilometers away, heading towards the firmament star at high speed. The middle-aged man snorted and flicked his finger, unleashing a terrifying golden emperor's chi that landed on the blood-red mist in the blink of an eye. With a loud bang, the blood-red mist let out a blood-curdling screech before exploding on the spot. It was like a firework that lit up in the cold universe. The majestic force directly swept across a radius of 10,000 miles, and meteorites exploded one after another. The gales of the universe swept across the middle-aged man's robe as he stared coldly into the distant universe. Vaguely, a blood-red ray of light could be seen flickering with an eerie intent. His movements are getting more and more frequent. How troublesome. Inside the Emperor's Road, an unexpected Emperor's Tao fluctuation attracted the attention of the 9 heavens, 3 realms, and even the outer realm. At this moment, there was another huge commotion inside the Emperor's Road. The Emperor's Mountain that was shrouded in golden mist seemed to be affected by the sudden Emperor's Tao fluctuation as the mist gradually dispersed. The majestic Emperor's Mountain had appeared in advance. In an instant, countless ancient orthodoxies were shaken. Each sky prides looked at the Emperor's Mountain excitedly. They knew that the opportunity to become an emperor had arrived. Chapter 643. Inside the Path of Emperors, the Mountain of Emperors had appeared. Many orthodoxies were shocked. Rays of light flashed across the sky and headed towards the Mountain of Emperors. The group of rulers arrived at the Mountain of Emperors. They stared at the peak of the Mountain of Emperors with fiery eyes. There were 9 golden platforms engraved with Tao patterns. Their surroundings were filled with Tao melodies and lights that dazzled everyone. That was the throne. 9 thrones. In other words, 9 emperors were born this time. This is unbelievable. This is the first time in history that the Mountain of Emperors produced 9 thrones at once. This is too powerful. Everyone says that this era of great battles is the turning point of extreme decline to extreme prosperity. This is right. 9 thrones, this is unprecedented. Some rulers could no longer hold it in. Some of them dashed towards the peak of the Mountain of Emperors. However, they were bounced back by an invisible force. Some of them used too much force and directly fell to the ground in a sorry state. Stop fooling around. The thrones of this generation are for the heavens' favorites. It's not our turn yet. A ruler said. The rest of the rulers looked at the thrones and looked away unwillingly. They were ready for the heaven's favorites to take the stage. Other than the rulers, the group of heaven's favorites arrived at the Mountain of Emperors as well. Qin Tianqian by Hongyu, Sha Wuxia, Wang Quan, Ziwu Ji, and other heaven's favorites gathered at the Mountain of Emperors. They stared at the thrones with fiery eyes. That's the throne. Climb it and you will become a heaven's favorite. 9 There are 9 thrones. Doesn't that mean I have a high chance of becoming one? Let's go. Some heaven's favorites could no longer hold it in, and dashed towards the Mountain of Emperors. However, the moment they arrived at the boundary of the Mountain of Emperors, an enormous pressure pressed them down onto the ground. Damn, such a terrifying emperor's pressure. Those with insufficient cultivation can't even stand straight. As expected, it's not easy to climb to the top. Qin Tianqian glanced at the heaven's favorites and snickered. Even if the throne is empty, it will not be taken by the weak. Then he took a step forward and walked towards the peak of the Mountain of Emperors. He walked like he was taking a stroll in the park. Some prodigies couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. As expected of the world's #1 heaven's pride, he is indeed powerful. Others can't even move, but he can actually stroll around so casually. The top sky pride in the world? Shouldn't that be Chu Kuangren? What Chu Kuangren? That person is already dead. It's all in the past now. The current #1 cultivator is Qin Tianqian. The sky pride pouted and said in disdain. But at this moment, a white light suddenly whizzed out and hit his body, sending him flying and falling flat on his face. Not far away, a silhouette clad in silver armor slowly walked over, radiating a holy and radiant aura as well as a cold intent. It's her, Lan Yu. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. It was the former saint of the light, Lan Yu. Apart from her, Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, and Shang Qingxue had also come out of their closed-door training. And now, everyone's body was surging with an extremely terrifying pressure. That was the Emperor's qi. These people had all condensed the monarch qi. Especially Lan Yu, who was at the forefront. The terrifying Emperor's qi that emanated from her was not inferior to some of the veteran emperors. They've become so much stronger. Bai Hongyu and the others were shocked. Watch your mouth. Lan Yu glanced at the sky pride that she had sent flying, and said coldly. That sky pride instantly shuddered, but he still bit the bullet and said, I'm not wrong. What right do you have to hit me? Yeah, she's not wrong. A playful voice was heard. The forbidden sky pride, Sha Wuxia, walked up and glanced at Lan Yu and the others. He said, Chu Kuangren is dead, and we've seen it with our own eyes. Are we not allowed to say it? Before we ascend the Emperor Mountain, I don't mind tearing your mouth apart. A white scepter suddenly appeared in Lan Yu's hand. It was an emperor weapon. When the emperor's qi entered the emperor weapon, a majestic aura immediately erupted, forcing Sha Wuxia to take a few steps back. After Sha Wuxia steadied himself, he looked at his opponent with fear in his eyes. Now that Chu Kuangren is no longer here, do you think the few of you can do anything? Sha Unpardonable exuded his emperor's qi too. He had obtained a fortuitous encounter in the core area of the desolate forbidden ground. And he had also formed the monarch qi. His strength was not much weaker than a martial monarch. Give it a try. Without hesitation, Lan Yu raised her hand and shot out a white divine flame. The might of the divine flame locked onto Sha without mercy. Sha Wuxia raised his hand and punched out, but he was sent flying. Divine flames burned on his fist, and a large area was burned. Such power. Sha Unpardonable became even more fearful of Lan Yu. I'd like to see how you guys fare in Emperor Mountain. Chu Kuangren has offended quite a lot of people. After Sha Wuxia finished speaking, he did not continue to fight with Lan Yu. He turned around and walked towards the top of Mount Emperor. The most important thing now was to ascend the mountain and become a martial monarch. Even though there were 9 emperor positions, there were so many geniuses that came to Mount Emperors. Even the forbidden geniuses had to fight for them. The rest of the prodigies also started climbing. Let's go. Lan Yu was about to leave with Nangong Huang, and the other 2. Lan Yu, Nangong Huang. At that moment, a surprised voice came from behind them. They saw 2 beautiful figures walking towards them. Junyi Fian. Nangong Huang was a little surprised. The two ladies were the Black Heaven sect's Taoists, Junyi and Jean Fian. I've finally found you guys. The two ladies were very happy to see Lan Yu and the others. Ha everyone, how have you been? Another two figures arrived together. They were the Black Heaven sect's Taoists, Zhuahan and Qin Wushuang. You guys are here too. Yes, how could we not come when the Emperor Mountain has appeared? Lan Yu glanced at them, and a smile appeared on her cold face. Looks like you guys have your own fortuitous encounters. She could tell that their auras were much stronger than before they entered the Emperor's path. The difference was like heaven and earth. Lan Yu, the outside world is saying that the sect leader. Junyi asked hesitantly. The outside world is saying that Master is dead, Lan Yu said calmly. She then looked at the crowd and chuckled. Do you guys believe it? The sect leader is dead. What a joke. I don't believe it. The sect leader brings disaster wherever he goes. Anyone can die, but I don't believe he's dead. The outside world is too unbelievable. I think the sect leader will come out after lying in that broken coffin for a few days. The few of them joked. To them, Chu Kuangren was like a religion. Chu Kuangren would die? Stop joking. Anyone in this world could die, but not Chu Kuangren. Let's go. Let's ascend the Emperor Mountain. Lan Yu turned around and looked at the peak of the Emperor Mountain with determination. All the sky prides began to ascend the Emperor Mountain. This was the last hurdle on the Emperor's path. On the Emperor Mountain, dangers were accompanied by opportunities of fortune. All the sky prides had their own unique abilities. Inside the Emperor's path, all the orthodoxies and cultivators had their eyes on the Emperor Mountain to witness the greatest ascent in history. At the peak of the Emperor Mountain, the 9 Emperor thrones shone brightly with Taoist patterns, waiting for the sky prides to ascend. Chapter 644. In the barren forbidden area, beneath the black soil, inside the Emperor's coffin, after Chu Kuangren had broken through that barrier, his understanding of his Tao of invincibility had reached a whole new level. It was the Emperor's Tao. After cultivating for so long, he had finally reached the Emperor's Tao. Is this what it feels like to become an emperor? It's extraordinary indeed. Chu Kuangren took a step forward. An incredibly dense Emperor's Tao fluctuation erupted, and the terrifying energy caused the surrounding chaotic mist to tumble. 24 surges of Emperor's Qi erupted and coordinated with the Emperor's Tao. Like a hurricane, countless evil spirits and Rakshasas were killed wherever they went. The door to the mansion of the dead could not withstand such a vast amount of energy. Cracks began to form all over the door. With a loud bang, the door to the mansion of the dead shattered. Ah! The underworld god's consciousness clone let out a cry of agony when its divine ability was broken. The giant human face immediately dissipated. Tisk looks like he'll have to recuperate for a while, the Chaos Taoist master said with a smile. Although the underworld god's consciousness clone was one with the Emperor burying coffin, and such an attack would not kill it, the backlash from its divine ability breaking meant that the consciousness clone would not be able to appear for some time. Your Tao is at least a perfect Tao. The Chaos Taoist master looked at Chu Kuangren and said in amazement. A perfect Tao? That's right. Everyone has their own Tao. However, between Taos, there's a difference in realms and quality. I'm all ears. Chu Kuangren said solemnly, looking like a good student. The Chaos Taoist master enjoyed it very much. Although he was just a soul, he still pretended to clear his throat. I've already told you about the different realms. The grades of the Emperor Tao are divided into ordinary, flawed, flawless, perfect, and ultimate. These 5 grades are all different in terms of power. Then what grade is your Tao? My Tao is perfect. The Chaos Taoist master looked proud. Since ancient times, not many have possessed a perfect Tao. How do I improve the grade of my Tao? It's very difficult. An emperor's Tao is closely related to their accumulations and comprehensions before advancing to martial emperor. Once they advance to martial emperor, the quality of their Tao will be determined. It's not like cultivation realms that can be raised. Without a great fortuitous encounter, the quality of their Tao will be very difficult to change. I understand. Then who has the ultimate Tao? Yes. Apart from the human clan, There are very few ancient gods or primordial creatures who possess the ultimate Tao. However, as far as I know, there is only one human who possesses the ultimate Tao. The Chaos Tao Master could not help but reveal a hint of admiration in his eyes. Ooh. Chu Kuangren was a little surprised. What kind of person could make the Chaos Tao Master revere him? The instigator of the war of defying the gods, the leader who led us in sealing the gods. We revere him as King Song. Human King. Song. Song, is he still there? The Chaos Tao Master shook his head and said sadly, during the war against the gods, he fought with the strongest divine master among the gods. In the end, both of them died in the immemorial Kunlun abyss. Not even their corpses were found. That's such a pity. Chu Kuangren sighed. It's such a pity that I'm not fated to meet such a person. Alright, now that you've completed your Emperor's Tao, it's time to think of a way to achieve Emperor Essence, the Chaos Tao Master said. Chu Kuangren nodded. To become an emperor, possessing the Emperor's Tao alone was not enough. One must also build an Emperor's foundation level and an Emperor's body. To achieve that, one would need a massive amount of resources. At the Emperor Mountain, with the support of the Emperor's throne, one could skip that process and use the Emperor's throne's energy to build an Emperor's foundation level. That was also one of the reasons why countless people flocked to the Emperor Mountain. With the Emperor's throne, they did not need to look for resources themselves to build an Emperor's foundation level because the Emperor Mountain had already prepared everything for them. However, Chu Kuangren was not at the Emperor Mountain now. Even if he had proven his Tao through strength, he would still need to spend a massive amount of resources to build an Emperor's foundation level. If it were any other time, I might be troubled by this, but now that I'm in the Emperor burial coffin, there's no need for that. Isn't this endless chaotic qi just like a massive amount of resources? Chu Kuangren licked his lips. Remember, the Emperor's foundation level is also divided into different grades. Do your best to build the best Emperor's foundation level. This matter concerns your future growth, so don't be careless, the Chaos Taoist Lord said solemnly. Understood. Chu Kuangren sat down with his legs crossed and fully activated the universal cauldron physique. The chaotic qi in the surroundings instantly flowed towards Chu Kuangren like 100 rivers flowing into the sea. He refined it and channeled it into his spiritual mound. The Emperor's qi in his spiritual mound continued to increase as the 7 supreme foundation levels radiated with a divine brilliance. There was a mysterious resonance between them, and they were getting closer to each other. The moment these supreme foundation levels collided, a terrifying shockwave erupted. It was like the Big Bang. The 7 supreme foundation levels shattered and formed a giant whirlpool. The fragments of the supreme foundation levels were sucked into the whirlpool. Vaguely, a golden pearl could be seen within the whirlpool. That was the first step in building the Emperor's foundation level. Break all the foundation levels and merge them together to form Emperor's essence. The stronger the foundation level, the higher the quality of the Emperor's essence that was formed. At the peak of Mount Emperor, a figure suddenly stepped into the place. That person was dressed in a black robe and had an imposing appearance. It was the Qin clan's taboo, Qin Tianchen. Looking at the Emperor's throne in front of him, Qin Tianchen took a deep breath and a fiery look appeared in his eyes. Sure enough, I've ascended to the Emperor's throne in this life. With the foundation from my past life, I'll be even more powerful after becoming an emperor in this life. An emperor who has lived a second life is no ordinary emperor, Qin Tianchen said. Then, his figure flashed and turned into a stream of light that landed on the emperor's throne. In an instant, the entire Mount Emperor trembled. A golden pillar of light shot into the sky and pierced through the clouds. Golden auspicious clouds surged as Taoist rhymes echoed. Outside of Mount Emperor, all the emperors were shocked. Someone has ascended to the top and become an emperor. It's the Qin clan's taboo. Aha, as expected of our Qin clan's taboo. The reincarnation of a great emperor is indeed able to take the lead. The Qin clan's emperor laughed heartily. The rest of the emperors looked at the other sky prides on Mount Emperor with a hint of anxiety in their eyes while cheering them on in their hearts. The first emperor's throne had been taken. Hurry up! Hurry up! As Qin Tianchen ascended to the emperor's throne, The rest of the taboo sky prides also ascended to the top after going through countless trials and opportunities. The emperor's throne is mine. The second to reach the top was Wang Quan from the Wang clan. He turned into a stream of light and quickly ascended to the emperor's throne. Then the second golden pillar of light shot into the sky from Mount Emperor. The third was Lan Yu. Behind her, there was no longer anyone from the Black Heaven sect. Climbing Mount Emperor was not an easy task. She could not bring everyone up alone, so she had to go first. She also ascended to the emperor's throne. In an instant, countless emperor's mysteries surged into her heart, and the third golden pillar of light exploded. Then Jiu Yan from the nine-headed snakelet tribe, Zi Wuji from the land of runes, Sha Wuxia from the unforgiven tribe, Lung Ningyu from the seven emotions sect, and Bai Hongyu from the Bai clan took the other 5 emperors' thrones. Out of the 9 emperors' thrones, only one was left. All the emperors stared at the last emperor's throne and breathed heavily. Some of the ancient orthodoxies that had yet to ascend to the top were as anxious as ants on a hot pan. Look, someone's ascending. That person is. Chapter 645. The last emperor's throne held the hearts of countless emperors. A young man, riddled with wounds, stepped onto the peak of the mountain with a sharp sword qi emanating from his body. It was Morongxian. This emperor's throne is mine. Morongxian looked at the last emperor's throne with a serious expression. A lady's figure appeared in his mind. It was Yang Xiyun. She was the love of his life after he came to the emperor's path. He had promised her that he would look for her after he became an emperor. Whoosh! Morongxian's figure flashed and landed on the emperor's throne. The 9th golden light pillar shot into the sky. How can it be him? Chu Kuangren's people. D****. Lan Yu and Morongxian are both Chu Kuangren's people. And Lung Ningyu too. F***ck. Chu Kuangren is dead, but there are still 3 people close to him who became emperors. Are you kidding me? How can Morongxian become an emperor? The remaining sky prides looked at the 9 golden light pillars that shot into the sky and could not help but feel extremely dissatisfied. Some of the forbidden sky prides, in particular, were extremely resentful. They had failed. They had failed in their fight for the emperor's throne. The 9 emperors' thrones had been divided among the crowd. The 9 golden light pillars shot into the sky and began to resonate with the heavenly Tao. Under such a powerful fluctuation, the heavenly Tao that was originally incomplete for some reason began to be perfected. The heavenly Tao was restored. On one of the emperor's thrones, Qin Tianqian sat with his legs crossed as his understanding of the emperor's Tao increased. At the same time, the foundation within his body was also broken and began to merge. During this process, the emperor's thrones were constantly transferring energy to him. That energy was converted into emperor's qi and gradually condensed into emperor's qi. I need at least 9 surges of emperor's qi to condense emperor's qi. The more surges of emperor's qi, the higher the quality of the condensed emperor's qi. The 5 grades of emperor's qi are low grade, mid grade, top grade, supreme grade, and ultimate grade. In my previous life, I could only condense low-grade emperor's qi, but in this life, I can at least condense mid-grade emperor's qi. My achievements in the emperor's path will far surpass my previous life. Qin Tianqian thought to himself. He began to absorb the energy from the emperor's thrones, and the amount of emperor's qi in his body continued to increase. 3 surges, 4 surges, 5 surges, 6 surges, 60, 70, 80, 90. In the coffin of the emperor, Chu Kuangren was frantically absorbing the chaotic qi around him, converting it into the energy needed to condense the emperor's essence. The amount of emperor qi was also increasing rapidly. This process made him feel so good that he was about to fly. For other cultivators, it would take a lot of effort and resources to condense a stream of monarch qi. However, with the help of the endless chaos qi and the universal cauldron physique, the amount of monarch qi he had was increasing at an unbelievable speed. Beside him, the Chaos Tao Lord clicked his tongue in wonder as well. To think that this fellow's speed of refining chaos qi would be so fast. Just what sort of physique is that? I feel that it's much stronger than my chaos body. However, will his body be able to withstand so much chaotic qi? Don't accidentally blow yourself up. The other side. Di Shan, Qin Tianqian and the others were also condensing Emperor Yuan. Among them, the most outstanding one was Qin Tianqian. As the reincarnation of a great emperor, he was very familiar with the process. Coupled with the accumulation of 2 lifetimes, his emperor qi was improving at an extremely fast rate. 99 streams of emperor qi. 99 streams of emperor qi is the threshold of a mid-tier emperor essence. However, I think I can still continue to improve. I might even have the chance to break through to a top-tier emperor essence. Qin Tianqian was ecstatic. He had obtained too many opportunities of fortune during his reincarnation. Emperors who could condense top-tier emperor essences were rare. In the same cultivation realm, a top-tier emperor essence could give an emperor a huge advantage. The 100th stream of emperor qi, condense. Qin Tianqian let out a low roar as his eyes lit up like never before. He was already looking forward to condensing a top-tier emperor essence. That's the 1000th stream of emperor qi. This guy is still far from reaching his limit. Could it be that he has a high chance of condensing a top-tier emperor essence? The Chaos Tao Lord looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. Top-tier emperor essences were similar to the perfect Tao. They were extremely rare among the emperors, and each of them was unparalleled. For example, the Chaos Tao Lord had a top-tier emperor essence. If this guy doesn't die along the way, he has a high chance of becoming a Tao Lord in the future. No, he might even surpass me. Surpass a Tao Lord and become an immortal that transcends the heavenly Tao. The Chaos Tao Lord's eyes lit up. Since ancient times, countless cultivators had pursued immortality, but no one had ever touched the threshold of immortality. However, he now saw a possibility in Chu Kuangren. If the human emperor was still around, he might have become an immortal by now, the Chaos Tao Lord lamented. Then he looked at Chu Kuangren, and the more he looked at him, the weirder his expression became. Speaking of which, this guy's appearance is different from the human emperor, but his unique aura is very similar. He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Maybe I'm overthinking. Time passed by, and Chu Kuangren did not know how long it had been since he refined the chaotic qi and condensed the emperor's essence. Maybe it was a month, or maybe it was a year. However, the number of emperor's essences in his body had reached an astonishing 9,990 streams, which meant he had reached the threshold of condensing a top-tier emperor essence. It's time to condense a top-tier emperor essence. The Chaos Tao Lord murmured. However, he was surprised to find that Chu Kuangren did not stop refining the chaotic qi and condensing the emperor's essence. Instead, he continued to refine the chaotic qi and condense the emperor's essence. Is this guy trying to break through to the ultimate emperor's essence? He had a strange look on his face. The ultimate emperor's essence was the strongest grade of emperor's essence, but it had always existed in theory. Since ancient times, no one had managed to condense it. Therefore, the Chaos Tao Lord did not think Chu Kuangren could succeed. Besides, to condense such an emperor's essence, one's physical body would have to withstand a lot of pressure. I'm afraid he won't be able to withstand it. Time passed. At Mount Emperor, hundreds of millions of kilometers away, 9 pillars of light shot into the sky, shaking the heavens. It had been a year since Qin Tianqian and the others ascended to the Emperor's realm. During this year, their Taoist Tao foundation and physical bodies had undergone tremendous changes, and they were constantly approaching the Emperor realm. At that moment, 2 figures suddenly stepped out of the golden light pillars. They were Bai Hongyu and Wang Quan. Their bodies emanated an endless emperor's aura that shook the entire emperor's road. They had become emperors. The 2 of them looked at each other and saw the joy in each other's eyes. After cultivating for so long, I've finally become an emperor. Haha, from now on, where can't we go? The 2 of them looked at the emperor's thrones behind them. The others were still in the process of becoming emperors. However, when they saw Qin Tianqian, their expressions changed slightly, and a serious look appeared in their eyes. The amount of emperor's essence in his body has reached more than 900. He's trying to condense a top-tier emperor's essence. Wang Quan said in shock. Through their emperor's enlightenment, they had learned about some things about the emperor's realm, and knew that there were different grades of emperor's essences. The emperor's essences that they condensed were only low tier. However, Qin Tianqian was trying to condense a top-tier emperor's essence. Chapter 646. On Emperor Mountain. Bai Hongyu and Wang Quan were the first to become emperors. However, it did not mean that the first to become an emperor was the strongest. Take Qin Tianqian for example. Although he had yet to become an emperor, he was still accumulating emperor's essence, and was planning to condense a top-tier emperor essence in one go. 997th. 998th. Qin Tianqian's body was already covered in wounds. His physical body had reached its limit, but he gritted his teeth and did not give up. He used all his strength to condense the 999th emperor's essence. I did it! Qin Tianqian was overjoyed. Then, the 999th emperor's essence gathered and mixed with his spiritual mound to form a top-tier emperor essence. 56, 800 monarch qi. 56,900 monarch qi. 57,000 monarch qi. 57,000 monarch qi. 57,000 monarch qi. 60,000. Inside the emperor burying coffin, Chu Kuangren had already condensed 60,000 emperor's essences. Moreover, it was still increasing. The Chaos Taoist Lord was shocked. The emperor's essence that was condensed from such a large amount of emperor's essence must be of a higher quality than his. Crack, crack. At that point, Chu Kuangren's body could no longer withstand such a large amount of emperor's essence. It began to crack and bloody wounds appeared on his body. This is bad. If this goes on, this guy's body won't be able to take it. The Chaos Taoist Lord was worried. However, something unexpected happened. At the same time that Chu Kuangren's body was being destroyed, an incredibly mysterious force was continuously repairing his body. What kind of ability is this? The Chaos Taoist Lord was shocked. This guy's weird abilities really came one after another. Immortal body activated. Chu Kuangren continued to refine the chaotic qi without any hesitation. Gradually, the vast and boundless chaotic qi in the surroundings began to become extremely thin. The Chaos Taoist Lord was speechless. This guy is going to absorb all the chaotic qi in the emperor burying coffin. He looked at Chu Kuangren with a gleam in his eyes. The amount of emperor's essence in Chu Kuangren's body had reached 70,000, and there was still no end in sight. Obviously, he could still condense more. If he's given enough resources, he might be able to form the first ultimate emperor's essence in the history of the human race. This is of great significance to our human race. At the thought of this, a look of determination flashed across the Chaos Tao Master's eyes. His soul form returned to his physical body. Afterwards, his body began to release large amounts of chaotic qi, and the thin chaotic qi in the surroundings became dense once again. Little fellow, I'll use my cultivation base to help you condense the ultimate Emperor Yuan. With the influx of large amounts of chaotic qi, Chu Kuangren's speed of condensing the Emperor's essence became faster and faster. 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, 99,999. Finally, 100,000. The moment the 100,000 surges of Emperor's essence converged, Chu Kuangren's body emitted an unprecedentedly terrifying fluctuation. Divine light circulated in his body, and Tao patterns intertwined. The 100,000th arch energy surging out gradually condensed into a dazzling golden arch energy. In that instant, the 9 heavens, hell, the demon realm, the firmament, and even the outer realms all sensed the fluctuations of the ultimate arch essence. Countless ancient almighties opened their eyes. The emperors in the cosmos all felt like their scalps were about to explode. CKME, what kind of power is this? It's the emperor's essence. Someone has condensed the emperor's essence, but why is its fluctuation so terrifying? Is it the emperor from Mount Emperor? No. Although we've condensed 9 emperor thrones this time, none of them could allow someone to condense such emperor's essence. Who could it be? This kind of emperor's essence has never been seen before in history. Could it be some kind of ancient living being? Above the 9 heavens, all the great ones in the outer realms and the firmament were shocked. In the Emperor's Road, inside the burying Emperor's coffin, Chu Kuangren slowly got up, and the ultimate emperor's essence within his body emitted surges of unimaginably pure emperor's essence. It cleansed his bones, meridians, every inch of his flesh, and even every cell. He felt that his body was constantly transforming. From a sage's body to a great emperor's body. Chu Kuangren gently waved his fist. Terrifying energy poured out as he gently waved his fist, causing the entire burying emperor's coffin to shake. How powerful! Chu Kuangren was amazed. Then he sensed the state of his body. The supreme foundation in his spiritual mound had completely disappeared, and in its place was a shiny golden emperor's essence. The emperor's essence was oval in shape, and there were countless mysterious Taoist patterns on it. The emperor's essence continued to emit emperor's essence, transforming his entire spiritual mound and physical body. Even the Bodhi spirit sitting on the golden lotus platform beside the emperor's essence was affected, and its soul was slightly strengthened. Now, I feel like I can crush thousands of me with just a finger. Is this the power of an emperor? Chu Kuangren exclaimed. You're not an ordinary emperor. At that moment, the Chaos Taoist master's soul appeared again. However, this time his soul looked a little weak, but his eyes were unprecedentedly bright. He stared at Chu Kuangren and exclaimed, You're the first emperor to possess the ultimate emperor's essence in the human race's history. The first in the human race's history. Not even the human king? The human king has the ultimate Tao, but unfortunately, even he could not condense the ultimate emperor's essence, the Chaos Taoist master said. I see. Why has the surroundings changed? Chu Kuangren suddenly realized that the vast sea of chaotic qi around him had disappeared, leaving only a few strands. How dare you say that? The Chaos Taoist master rolled his eyes. In order to help you condense the ultimate emperor's essence, I voluntarily used up all of my cultivation base and converted it into chaotic qi for you to absorb. How powerful was the Chaos Taoist master? As an ancient elder and one of the strongest cultivators in the human tribe, his cultivation base was unparalleled. However, even he had to give up his cultivation base to help Chu Kuangren condense the ultimate emperor origin level. One could see how difficult it was to condense the ultimate emperor's essence. Thank you, senior. Chu Kuangren straightened his face and immediately bowed. Then he raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack towards the 4 blood-colored light pillars that pierced through the Chaos Taoist master's limbs, shattering them. Senior, I'll get you out of here now. It's no use. Even if you're an emperor now, this emperor burying coffin is still the underworld god's natal divine weapon. He used this coffin to seal me. You can break the blood spiritual energy that's corroding my soul, but you can't get me out of here, the Chaos Taoist master said helplessly. Divine weapons were weapons used by the deities, and the natal divine weapon was the most important weapon that was closely related to the deities. Chu Kuangren tried to move the Chaos Taoist master, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not move the Chaos Taoist master at all. It was as if his physical body was connected to the emperor burying coffin. What should I do then? Chu Kuangren frowned. Don't worry, I won't die anytime soon. Now that you're an emperor, you should leave this place and do what you need to do. Senior, is there anything I can help you with? Chu Kuangren asked. He had obtained such a great opportunity of fortune after entering the emperor burying coffin. The Chaos Taoist master even used his entire cultivation base to help him condense the ultimate emperor's essence. Chu Kuangren would feel bad if he did not do something for the Chaos Taoist master. Chapter 647. What do you need to do? Of course I want you to become stronger as soon as possible, so that you can save me. Chaos Tao Lord rolled his eyes and said. After that he explained a few things to Chu Kuangren before he took out a painting and an ancient book. On the painting, there was even a woman in white with peerless beauty. Little fellow, this woman is my disciple, and this ancient book contains my lifetime of comprehension. If you are able to meet her, I hope that you can pass this ancient book to me on my behalf. Although I don't know if she has any use for it, of course, if you want to take a look, I have no objections. Now that several eras had passed, he did not know what level his disciple's cultivation had reached. Perhaps he no longer had any use for this manual. Since Chu Kuangren had just ascended to the emperor realm, he might still be of some use. This white-robed woman looks a little familiar. The more Chu Kuangren looked at the lady in the painting, the more familiar he felt she was. Suddenly his pupils shrank. Holy shit! Isn't this the headless empress? Her head was still in his interspatial ring. He was actually the disciple of the Chaos Tao Lord? Gulp. Chu Kuangren gulped and said, Senior, there's something I need to tell you first. What is it? Chu Kuangren told him about the headless empress, and then took out that woman's head. When he saw the woman's head, the Chaos Tao Master's spirit body began to fluctuate violently, and emitted an extremely strong killing intent. Luo River. Why is this happening? What exactly happened? Why has the Luo River become like this? The Tao heart of the Chaos Tao Master fluctuated violently. Luo Shui, his disciple, could be said to be the person closest to him, and also the only person he was worried about. But now, her head had been separated from her body for so many years. He didn't dare to believe it. Just what had happened to him? Something's not right. Why is the aura of this Luo River so weak? Given her heavenly venerable realm cultivation, her aura shouldn't be this weak even if she only has a head, the Chaos Tao Master said with a frown. His current thoughts were like a paste. It was too messy. What happened after the Rebel God War? Young fella, I'm counting on you. The Chaos Taoist Lord could only place all his hopes on Chu Kuangren, hoping that he could help him investigate the matter. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Now that he had become a martial emperor, these were all things that he had to interact with. Then Senior, I'll take my leave first. All right. Then Chu Kuangren activated the emperor's qi within his body. In an instant, a terrifyingly colorful Dharma power was formed. Its gigantic body seemed to be able to support the heavens and earth. There was a loud bang. The 10,000 Dharma forms held up the sky with their hands, as if they had touched some kind of barrier. It was the lid of the emperor burying coffin. Rise. Chu Kuangren let out a low growl, and the inner world of the burial emperor's coffin started to shake violently. Soon, Chu Kuangren saw a pitch-black crack appear in front of him. In a flash, he dashed towards the crack. Emperor's Road, desolate forbidden land, black soil. The huge black soil suddenly began to shake violently. Then a figure broke through the soil and leaped into the clouds. We're finally out. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath, his face filled with joy. After exiting the burying emperor's coffin, Chu Kuangren immediately sensed that something was not quite right. The surrounding spiritual qi was more abundant, and the great Taoist Tao had manifested. Like adding oil to a raging fire, it was incredibly prosperous and easier to gain insights. In the Emperor's Road, the faintly discernible restriction was also quickly disappearing. The emperors no longer had to be trapped in the ancestors' land. Chu Kuangren was slightly surprised. He looked towards the direction of the Emperor's Mountain, and squinted his eyes when he saw the golden light pillar that pierced through the sky. Someone has become an emperor. There was more than one aura. Interesting. It seems that the Emperor's Mountain has already opened. I wonder who has become an emperor. He smiled and glanced at the black soil. Then, his emperor's thought surged out and covered the Emperor's Road, locking onto the swordsman's location. Inside the swordsman's tribe, some swordsmen were cultivating. However, all of a sudden, the treasured swords in front of them were shrouded by a strange spatial fluctuation, and they all disappeared. What's going on? Where are my swords? What's going on? Oh no, the Hidden Sword Pavilion. All the swords in the Hidden Sword Pavilion, including the 2 emperor weapons, have suddenly disappeared. What? The entire swordsman's tribe fell into chaos. Everyone felt incomparably horrified. What kind of technique was it to make all the swords in the swordsman's tribe disappear in an instant? Could it be that I've seen a ghost? One of the swordsmen could not help but mumble. The barren forbidden area. Chu Kuangren stood in the air above the black soil. Behind him, many swords floated in the air, including a few emperor weapons. However, Chu Kuangren still felt that it was not enough, so he took out a few more emperor weapons from his yin and yang ring. Most of them were looted from the swordsman in the past. With so many emperor weapons and sage weapons casting the sealing sword formation, I refuse to believe that we can't suppress a divine weapon that's only controlled by your consciousness. Chu Kuangren snorted. In an instant, countless swords rained down like a torrential rain. As the swords pierced into the black soil, an incredibly powerful sealing force instantly erupted and shrouded the entire black soil. The sealing sword formation was formed, and the emperor burying coffin was firmly trapped in the black soil. Since then, unless the lord of the underworld broke through the seal and personally came to retrieve it, the emperor burying coffin would no longer be able to appear and harm the people. The emperor burying coffin can no longer absorb the resentment of living beings, so it can no longer harm your soul. Senior, once I reach a certain level, I'll definitely come and save you. Chu Kuangren thought to himself. Then he looked in the direction of the Mount Emperor and smirked. Now let me see who has become an emperor. A ripple appeared in the void. Chu Kuangren disappeared from where he was. Meanwhile, inside the Mount Emperor, Bai Hongyu, Wang Quan, Nine Flames, Ziwuji, and the other forbidden sky prides became emperors one after another. Their majestic emperor's poise swept across the entire emperor's road. When the cultivators around Mount D saw this, they were extremely excited. They looked at the monarchs and almost knelt down to worship them. Is this the emperor's poise? It's so powerful. How many years has it been? Finally, an emperor has appeared in the emperor's road. This is just the beginning. There will be more emperors in the future. Boom. An even more terrifying emperor's poise erupted from the Mount Emperor. Qin Tianqian stood in the air with a proud look on his face. The emperor's poise that he exuded was several times more powerful than the others. Bai Hongyu, Wang Quan, and the others narrowed their eyes. Qin Tianqian is the reincarnation of a great emperor. Now that he's ascended to the emperor realm, it's like he's living a second life. This kind of power is indeed powerful. Among us, he's still the strongest. The few new emperors looked at each other. They were quite wary of Qin Tianqian. Greetings, Emperor. One of the emperors stood out and said loudly. The other cultivators followed suit and congratulated him. Greetings, Emperor. Greetings, Emperor. Wave after wave of voices shot into the sky. Meanwhile, the 9 emperors stood proudly, enjoying the attention of the crowd and the supreme emperor's poise. Chapter 648. Greetings, Emperors. Greetings, Emperors. Countless cultivators around the Emperor Mountain bowed. The 9 emperors' auras shook the heavens. At that moment, Sha Wuxia of the 9 emperors looked at Lan Yu and Murong Xian and said, I think we still have a score to settle. What do you mean? Lan Yu said indifferently. Chu Kuangren has offended so many people. Do you really think you can forget about it? He may be dead now, but do you really think you can get away with it since you're close to him? Are you looking for a battle between emperors? Lan Yu took out his white scepter and unleashed his emperor's aura. Ha, I really want to see how big of a gap there is between us since we're both emperors. Sha Wuxia sneered. He then took a step forward and threw a punch at Lan Yu. Under the activation of the emperor's qi, the infallible tormented physique's aura skyrocketed. The violent ferocious qi almost shattered the void. Lan Yu snorted and threw a punch as well. The white divine flame burned and collided with the ferocious qi. As the two energies intertwined, a completely different emperor's aura erupted. The entire Emperor Mountain shook a few times, and the energy that was released sent countless cultivators flying. The emperor's aura is indeed extraordinary. Back then, the emperor burial coffin could not even cause a scratch on the Emperor Mountain when it controlled a large number of emperor realm cultivators. Now, it was shaken by a single attack from an emperor. This is too terrifying. This power is a little scary. After that attack, Lan Yu and Sha Wuxia each took a step back. Ferocious qi circulated around Sha Wuxia's body as he pushed the infallible tormented physique to its limit. The emperor's qi intertwined as he activated the divine ferocious avatar. This avatar was tens of thousands of feet tall, and its body was covered in Taoist patterns. As the emperor's aura emanated from it, countless cultivators were almost crushed to the ground. Even an emperor realm cultivator could not withstand it. Quick, retreat now. Retreat 10,000 miles away from the Emperor Mountain. Don't let it affect you. An emperor's battle is happening right after becoming an emperor. This is too much. On the Emperor Mountain, Sha Wuxia activated the divine ferocious avatar. The Taoist patterns on the avatar intertwined and covered almost half of the sky. Dazzling divine fire of light burst forth from Lan Yu's body. There were also Tao patterns swirling within the flames as the boundless might of light clashed with the murderous aura. The two monarchs' auras were evenly matched. Only monarchs of the same realm could stand beside them. As for others, it was difficult for them to even get close. Everyone, I'm sure none of you have forgotten what Chu Kuangren has done to us. Don't you want to vent your anger? Sha Wuxia sneered at the other new emperors. His gaze was especially on Qin Tianqian. Qin Tianqian was now an emperor who had lived his second life. With the accumulation of his 2 lives, the combat strength that he could unleash was extremely strong, and far exceeded any of the emperors present. If he was willing to make a move, defeating Lan Yu was almost guaranteed. Chu Kuangren is dead, but it's not a bad idea to settle the score with the people around him. Nine Flames took a step forward and chuckled. The matter of Chu Kuangren killing my Bai family's divine honorable physique cannot be forgotten so easily. Lan Yu, let me have a taste of your skills. Bai Hongyu took a step forward and said with a long saber in her hand. That saber was an emperor weapon. It was an opportunity of fortune that she had obtained after coming to Mount Emperor. It was not any weaker than the Scarlet Dragon Phoenix saber that Chu Kuangren had taken away previously. Chu Kuangren once killed my cousin, Wang Tianting. You must give my Wang family an explanation for this. Wang Quan said indifferently. I don't have such a deep grudge against Chu Kuangren, so I won't get involved. Zi Wuji took a few steps back. What about you, Qin Tianqian? Sha Wuxia looked at Qin Tianqian and asked. I don't care to deal with a woman. Qin Tianqian said. To him, he was no longer on the same level as these new emperors. He was much stronger than these new emperors, so it would be too shameful for him to fight Lan Yu with them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you fight or not. Sha Wuxia shrugged. Now he Bai Hongyu Wang Quan, and Nine Flames were going against Lan Yu and Morong Xian. 4 against 2. It was almost certain that they would win. If you want to fight, bring it on. Lan Yu held the scepter in her hand and said coldly, I would also like to spar with my fellow Taoists to prove my Tao. At that moment, Lung Ningyu said to Sha Wuxia and the others. Her gaze was indifferent and emotionless. Her Tao of Oblivion seemed to have reached a higher level of mastery. 4 against 3. We still have a chance of winning. Sha Wuxia said no more. The divine ferocious avatar behind him attacked Lan Yu, and the terrifying energy almost shattered the void. Lan Yu did not back down, and the white divine flame immediately erupted. The ferocious qi and light energy intertwined, and the Taoist patterns collided. Both Lan Yu and Sha Wuxia were forced to retreat. A sword qi and a saber ray pierced through the void. The sword qi and saber ray were both imbued with a majestic emperor's poise. Morong Xian and Bai Hongyu were fighting each other while Lung Ningyu was facing off against Wang Quan. The Tao of Oblivion was facing off against the Tao of 5 elements. Hee, then don't blame me for bullying you with numbers. Jiuyan laughed and charged towards Lan Yu. His fire and water Taoist patterns intertwined in the void and headed towards Lan Yu. He was an ancient wild beast with a powerful physique. Now that he had become an emperor, his combat strength had surpassed most emperors in the same realm. Sha Wuxia and Jiuyan. One was an infallible tormented physique, while the other was an ancient wild beast. If it was a one-on-one battle, Lan Yu would not be any weaker than either of them. However, now that both of them had teamed up, it would be difficult for Lan Yu to fight against them. The battle between the emperors shook the heavens and earth. Wave after wave of extremely dense emperors' aura continued to spread out, causing the entire Emperor Mountain to shake violently. Many cultivators were watching from afar. While they were trembling in fear of the terrifying Emperor's aura, they could not help but sigh. This Chu Kuangren is really something. Even in death, he still won't let people rest in peace. Even the emperors are fighting over him. Yeah, but it looks like Lan Yu won't be able to gain the upper hand. Being surrounded by 2 emperors, she could lose at any time. Yeah, the situation is not looking good. In the crowd, Nangong Huang, Shang Qingxue, and the others could not help but feel anxious as they watched the battle on the Emperor Mountain. The emperor from the swordsman tribe glanced at Nangong Huang and the others and sneered. Lan Yu, Murong Xian's time has come to an end. Since the few of you are related to Chu Kuangren, it's time for you to die as well. The swordsman tribe emperor immediately attacked. Nangong Huang's expression darkened as he exchanged a blow with his opponent. Both of them were forced to retreat. When Shang Qingxue and the others realized what was going on, they immediately went on their guard. Besides the swordsman tribe emperor, the Wangs, the Bai, and the demonic tribe emperors also turned their attention to Nangong Huang and the others. Their eyes were filled with coldness. Everyone related to Chu Kuangren shall die today, lest he becomes a scourge in the future. That's right. Chu Kuangren is dead. His debt shall be repaid by all of you. If you want to blame someone, blame it on your sect leader. The emperors joined forces to seal off Nangong Huang and the others' escape route. Now that the heavenly Tao had been restored, the emperor's path's restrictions had disappeared. They were no longer bound by anything, and even if they were to face a sky pride, they could still attack. Once they were freed from their restraints, they chose to attack the people around Chu Kuangren, disregarding their pride to deal with a few juniors. One could only say that their hatred for Chu Kuangren was too great. Yo, this Emperor Mountain is quite lively. At that moment, an indifferent voice suddenly resounded throughout the entire Emperor Mountain. Chapter 649. Just as the Battle of the Emperors continued on Mount Emperors, and the Emperors were about to attack Nangong Huang and the others, an indifferent yet familiar voice was suddenly heard and resounded throughout Mount Emperors. A familiar figure suddenly walked out from the void. He was dressed in a white robe, had a slender body, and his hair was long like a waterfall. He had a pair of sharp eyebrows and a pair of bright eyes. He was extremely handsome and looked like a celestial being. Everyone was stunned when they saw that person. Amidst the dead silence, someone gulped as he looked at the newcomer and said with a trembling voice, Chu Kuangren. Those 3 words were like a boulder smashing into the calm surface of a lake, setting off a storm. Everyone looked at Chu Kuangren in shock. *CKME, isn't he dead? Why is he alive all of a sudden? Wasn't he sucked into the burial emperor's coffin and buried in the black soil? How could it appear here? Can't even the burial emperor's coffin kill this guy? How is this possible? How did he get out? Chu Kuangren's enemies, such as the swordsmen and demonic emperors, stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. Are you a human or a ghost? A swordsman emperor said with a trembling voice. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Boom. A mist of blood exploded. That emperor did not even have the chance to scream before he died on the spot. However, that was just the beginning. One after another, mists of blood continued to bloom. The emperors who were attacking Nangong Huang and the others were all killed by an undetectable force within a breath's time. Everyone could not help but shiver as they looked at Chu Kuangren with fear in their eyes. One by one, they retreated, not daring to approach him. It was too terrifying. No one was surprised that Chu Kuangren could kill those emperors. However, the fact that he could kill them with such a strange and inexplicable method that no one could detect made them feel terrified. They did not even know how Chu Kuangren did it. Sect leader. I knew you're not dead, sect leader. Nangong Huang, Shang Qingxue, and the others were pleasantly surprised. On the Emperor Mountain by Hongyu, Qin Tianchen, and the others had also noticed Chu Kuangren's arrival. They all stopped what they were doing, shocked. They had witnessed Chu Kuangren being devoured by the imperial burial coffin with their own eyes. Yet now, Chu Kuangren was standing in front of them full of vigor. A smile blossomed on Lan Yu's face. Master. She was not the least bit surprised that Chu Kuangren was still alive. She was simply happy to be able to see him again. Lung Ningyu's heart skipped a beat. He's not dead, not dead. The love that she had suppressed to the bottom of her heart actually showed signs of surging out again, and her eyes had become a little blurry. My Tao of Wangqing is broken again. Brother Chu, you really are my nemesis. Lung Ningyu rubbed her eyes and muttered, He's not dead. Qin Tianchen's eyes widened. Following this, his monarch's will gushed out and landed on the other party's body, trying to probe the other party's cultivation level. but with his current cultivation he was actually unable to pry into it in the slightest. What level is he at right now? Qin Tianqian murmured. You're not dead? That's great. Nine Flames looked at Chu Kuangren and laughed out loud. His eyes were filled with excitement. I've always regretted not being able to defeat you. Now that you're still alive, this is great news. Now that I can defeat you with my own hands, my thoughts will be clear, and my Taoist core will be perfected. He's mine. Wang Quan snorted coldly. He stared at Chu Kuangren, wanting to defeat him too. No, he must be defeated by me. Chu Kuangren, it's a shame that you're one step too late. Otherwise the Emperor Mountain's throne would have been yours. But now you'll forever be beneath us. Bai Hongyu sneered. There were 9 Emperor Mountain's thrones, but now, all of them had been taken. To them, Chu Kuangren was not fated to be an emperor in this lifetime. If he did not become an emperor, how could he possibly be a match for them? They looked at Chu Kuangren excitedly, wishing that they could return the humiliation they had suffered to him 100-fold. You've become an emperor, huh? No wonder you have the guts to yell in front of me. In that case, let's fight together. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Fight together? Chu Kuangren, you think too highly of yourself. The current you. I can crush you with one finger. Sha Unpardonable said. The divine ferocious avatar behind him surged with ferocious chi, and was about to attack Chu Kuangren. However, at that moment, a golden torrent surged out and shattered Sha Unpardonable's divine ferocious avatar. The person who attacked was Qin Tianqian. His strength was extremely terrifying. Compared to Sha Unpardonable, Bai Hongyu and the others, his strength was one level higher. With just one move, he had shattered Sha Unpardonable's divine ferocious avatar. Qin Tianqian, what's the meaning of this? Sha Unpardonable said with a gloomy expression, but his eyes were filled with fear. He did not expect his opponent to be so much stronger than him. Was this the power of a 2-generation emperor? Chu Kuangren can only be defeated by me, Qin Tianqian said indifferently. As he stepped forward, the aura on his body began to circulate, and waves of Emperor's aura spread out like a tidal wave. This Emperor's aura was much stronger than the other new Emperors. It did not feel like a new Emperor at all. Even some of the older Emperors did not have such Emperor's aura. Flawless Tao, top-tier Emperor essence. Heh, that's pretty good among the Emperors. Chu Kuangren looked at Qin Tianqian with Taoist runes circulating deep within his eyes. Chu Kuangren, you shouldn't be here. If you hide, you'll definitely become an emperor in the future. When that time comes, you might still be able to suppress us. But now, you no longer have that chance. Qin Tianqian said as the emperor's aura on his body began to rise. Do you think you're worthy enough for me to hide? Chu Kuangren laughed in disdain, as if he had just heard a joke. You're still as arrogant as ever. Oh well, let me put an end to your legendary life today. As Qin Tianqian lifted his arm, an incredibly dense surge of Emperor's aura circulated between his fingers. He glared at Chu Kuangren and said, I'll kill you with one move. Boom. With a single punch, the void exploded. The fist energy shook the mountains, rivers, and earth. Wrapped in mysterious Taoist patterns, it turned into a golden torrent that swept towards Chu Kuangren. The power of that punch was too overwhelming. Almost no one thought that Chu Kuangren could withstand that attack. Even Morong Xian, Lung Mingyu, and Lan Yu could not help but want to help him. However, Chu Kuangren made his move. He slowly lifted his arm and casually pushed it out. In an instant, Chu Kuangren's emperor's aura appeared. It was only the tip of the iceberg, but it was already like a raging hurricane that shook the heavens. Chu Kuangren's palm attack contained indescribably mysterious Taoist patterns, and it immediately shattered Qin Tianqian's golden torrent. Qin Tianqian's pupils dilated. He could not defend himself at all before his bones and tendons were shattered. He was sent flying and landed on the ground in a disheveled state. He looked extremely pathetic, and he no longer had the high-spirited look he had before. Chu Kuangren retracted his hand and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Qin Tianqian, who was lying on the ground, and said, Why are you putting on an act in front of me? Chapter 650. Silence. It was deathly silent. Outside the Emperor Mountain, the hundreds of millions of cultivators were dumbfounded. No one would have thought that Qin Tianqian, who had become an emperor and accumulated a top-tier emperor essence, would be so vulnerable before Chu Kuangren. A single move and he was defeated pathetically. It was a complete mess. Chu Kuangren has become an emperor. One of the cultivators gulped and said in disbelief. In an instant, the hundreds of millions of cultivators went into an uproar as they stared at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. Emperor! Chu Kuangren had become an emperor. How is this possible? All 9 of the Emperor Mountain's emperor positions have been taken away. How did he become an emperor? Yeah, this kind of thing is simply unheard of. Wait a minute. Do you guys remember that there's another way to become an emperor other than the Emperor Mountain? The emperors seemed to have thought of something, and their eyes narrowed. Meanwhile, Qin Tianqian, who was knocked to the ground by Chu Kuangren, looked up and said in disbelief, "Using strength to prove your Tao? You've used strength to prove your Tao? How is this possible? Using strength to prove one's Tao? How could someone use strength to prove one's Tao in this era? Besides, Chu Kuangren was locked in the emperor burial coffin. How could one use strength to prove one's Tao in a place like that? This was completely beyond Qin Tianqian's understanding. How dare you bully my people when I'm not around? You guys have really challenged my patience time and again. If that's the case, don't leave. Today is a joyous day for all of you to become emperors. Let's set the date of your death as well." Chu Kuangren said calmly and took a step forward. The majestic emperor's aura instantly locked onto Qin Tianqian and the others. "Let's attack together." Sha Unpardonable roared. His divine ferocious avatar erupted with ferocious qi and countless Taoist patterns intertwined before it launched a punch at Chu Kuangren. "Did you just say that you can crush me with a finger?" Chu Kuangren looked at Sha Unpardonable and slowly pointed a finger at the void. The terrifying power directly blasted a hole in the void. This casual finger actually pierced through the void. The Sky Fiend Dharma idol's fist shattered, and its entire body exploded. The monarch aura's baleful aura dissipated, and Sha Wuxia himself let out a miserable howl. The monarch body that he had just condensed was continuously disintegrating under this finger. With a loud bang, Sha Wuxia's body exploded into dozens of pieces, and a large amount of sovereign blood gushed out, turning into a rain of blood that fell from the sky. An emperor had fallen. Emperors shed blood. Even the heavenly Tao was shaken. The scalps of all the living beings in the surroundings went numb, and their hearts palpitated. One finger. Crushing an emperor with a single finger. How terrifying was that? Monster! Monster! By Hong Yu, Wang Quan 9 Flames, and the others were incomparably terrified. They had initially thought that they no longer had to fear Chu Kuangren after they became emperors. Little did they expect that Chu Kuangren would still be a nightmare that they could not get rid of even after they became emperors. Moreover, this nightmare was even more terrifying than before. A sense of death loomed over the heads of these new emperors, causing their bodies to tremble uncontrollably. However, their survival instincts still drove them to attack. Heavenly Worshipper slash. Bai Hongyu channeled her emperor's qi and unleashed a slash. The gigantic saber shadow tore the void apart and slashed towards Chu Kuangren. Heavenly torrent of water and fire. 5 elements capturing technique. 3 different Taoist rhymes erupted, and the 3 types of Taoist patterns intertwined in the void before they swept towards Chu Kuangren. Wherever they went, the void shattered and cracks began to spread. Heavenly vortex. Chu Kuangren raised his hand, and the majestic emperor's qi within his body gushed out, forming a vortex at the center of his palm. It sucked in all of the powerful emperor's Taoist energies before he rebounded them back. The 3 of them were hit by their own energy, and were sent flying with blood spewing from their mouths. The Taoist patterns on their emperor's bodies were faintly discernible, as if they were about to shatter. They had been severely injured by their own attacks. How could this be? Even if he's become an emperor, we're all emperors. Why is there such a huge gap between us? This can't be. This can't be. Bai Hongyu and the others could not believe it. They were all new emperors, so how could there be such a huge gap between them? Why? Chu Kuangren, why are you so strong? Why can't we catch up to you even though we've worked so hard for so long? Why? Wang Quan lost his composure. He roared as if he had gone mad. Chu Kuangren looked at him with a calm gaze. All of you work hard to catch up and improve. Do you think I'll just stay where I am? In this world, those who have been defeated by me will never stand a chance against me. All of you can do is chase after my back until you can no longer see me. Then he raised his hand and unleashed a surge of Emperor's Qi, but it was as turbulent as a raging tsunami. Amidst the explosion, Wang Quan, Bai Hongyu and Jiuyan's Emperor's bodies exploded on the spot, and a huge amount of blood splattered everywhere. The Emperor's blood splattered onto the ground. In an instant, the creatures that were nourished by the Emperor's blood were elated, and countless supreme elixirs grew at an insane rate. 3 emperors were killed with a single move. Fresh blood splattered onto Ziwuji's body, but he did not dodge it. Instead, he stood there in a daze, unable to recover from the shock. Chu Kuangren slowly walked up and reached out his hand. Ziwuji was so shocked that his body trembled and his face turned pale. However, Chu Kuangren did not kill him. Instead, he gently patted him on the shoulder. You're wise not to attack just now. You're quite talented, and you still have a lot of potential in the Emperor realm. Chu Kuangren spoke as if he was a senior teaching a junior, but Ziwuji did not dare to refute him. He stood where he was, but as an emperor, he dared not move at all. Outside Emperor Mountain, the countless cultivators who witnessed the scene felt that it was too ridiculous. They wondered if they were dreaming. The day of his death is the day he becomes an emperor? My God, this is definitely the most pitiful emperor in history. This Chu Kuangren is too terrifying. Too terrifying. He's a complete monster. Becoming an emperor was the dream of many people. Since ancient times, cultivators who became emperors were able to dominate an entire era. Yet now he was killed right after becoming an emperor. Something like this had never happened before. After Chu Kuangren gave Ziwuji a few words of encouragement, he slowly walked towards Qin Tianchen with the emperor's aura circulating around his body. Am I going to die? Qin Tianchen gulped and struggled to get up. He wanted to escape, but he was locked in place by Chu Kuangren's aura. What's your current cultivation realm? Qin Tianchen asked with a trembling voice. I've only become an emperor a few days ago. Chu Kuangren said calmly. All right, go to hell. Stop. At that moment, a loud roar came from the void. Chu Kuangren paused for a moment, and Qin Tianchen seized the opportunity to turn into a stream of light and dashed away. Idiot. Chu Kuangren's emperor's thought moved and locked onto Qin Tianchen. His invisible mind power instantly controlled Qin Tianchen's body and froze him in midair. Then, with a turn of his mind power, an emperor-grade thunder talisman appeared. A bolt of lightning exploded and landed on Qin Tianchen's body. Since he was already injured, he could not withstand such a terrifying force. His emperor's body cracked under the lightning, and he died on the spot. Chapter 651. A powerful emperor's might exploded in the void. A gray-robed man walked out and stared coldly at Chu Kuangren. Didn't I tell you to stop? Oh, do I have to stop just because you tell me to? Chu Kuangren glanced at him and activated his Eye of Revelation. This person was also an emperor. Moreover, he was a veteran emperor. What caught Chu Kuangren's attention was that he was an emperor from the ancient orthodoxy, the Qin family. No wonder the other party was so agitated. After all, he'd just killed a new emperor from that sect right in front of them, so it would be strange if they weren't angry. Good. Are all the new emperors so arrogant now? You're not respecting your seniors at all. Brat, I became a martial emperor hundreds of thousands of years earlier than you. The Qin family's martial emperor said coldly. Are you trying to take advantage of your seniority? Looks like I'll have to teach you a lesson. The great emperor of the Qin clan instantly made his move. He lifted his hand and struck out. Waves of monarch qi burst forth. The incomparably mystical Dao patterns were even more mystical than Qin Tianchen's. It was obvious that his opponent's cultivation level was higher than Qin Tianchen's. In truth, Emperor Realm was divided into 3 realms. Emperor Beginning, Sky Lord and Dao Lord. The initial Emperor Realm was divided into 9 stages. The lower 3 stages were initial stage, the middle 3 stages were greater stage, and the upper 3 stages were perfection stage. Chu Kuangren, Qin Tianqian, and the other new emperors had just stepped into the emperor realm. They were all at the first level of the emperor realm, which was the lesser emperor realm. In fact, he was one of the weakest among small perfection emperors. The great emperor of the Qin clan was also a minor emperor, but he was in the 3rd stage of the emperor realm. He was an expert among minor emperor realm experts. Dealing with the new emperor just like that? How disrespectful. Chu Kuangren remained calm in the face of a 3rd stage emperor realm emperor's attack. The emperor's qi within his body surged as he activated his technique of invincibility. Chu Kuangren unleashed a punch, and the 2 surges of emperor's aura collided. Amidst the collision of Taoist patterns, Chu Kuangren did not budge an inch. On the other hand, the Qin family's emperor's expression changed slightly, and he was forced to take a few steps back. How could this be? The expression of the great emperor of the Qin clan changed instantly. He, a 3rd-layer emperor realm cultivator, was at a disadvantage in a clash with a new emperor. Was he really someone who had just become an emperor? Just what level is your Emperor Yuan at? The great emperor of the Qin family could sense that the quality of the other party's emperor qi was too high. He had never seen such a quality emperor qi before. Clearly, the quality of the opponent's emperor origin energy was very high, far surpassing him. Top rank? Top quality. Otherwise, how could he have such powerful combat strength? There's no need for you to know, Chu Kuangren replied. Ultimate Emperor Essence was his trump card, so why would he reveal it so easily? Although he was confident, he also knew the importance of concealing his strength, especially against emperors. Only by revealing 70% and holding back 30% could one remain invincible. I don't believe that a new emperor like you can be that strong. The great emperor of the Qin family was about to continue attacking. At this moment, a voice interrupted him. Stop. In the void, a figure descended. It was a woman with exquisite makeup, wearing a bright red dress. Taoist Qinyu, we're not here to start a feud with the new emperor, the woman said indifferently. Taoist Lung Xian, this person has killed several new emperors. Are you really going to sit back and do nothing? This is their personal grudge. It has nothing to do with us. He killed an emperor of the Qin family. How can it have nothing to do with me? Qinyu snorted, still unwilling to let go. Then continue fighting. Either you kill him, and I'll see how you're going to explain this to the Star Condensation Emperor when we get back. Or else, he kills you and you'll regret it in the afterlife. Lung Xian pouted. Upon hearing that, Qinyu's expression turned sour. First of all, they had come with a mission. If they did not complete it well, they would be punished when they returned. Secondly, if Lung Xian did not help him, it would be difficult for him to take down Chu Kuangren alone. We'll do as you say. Qinyu snorted and gradually retracted his domineering aura. Only then did Lung Xian's expression ease up a little. She glanced at the corpses of the emperors around her and revealed a look of pity. They're all new emperors. It's better to die in the outer realm battlefield than here. Beside her, Chu Kuangren's heart skipped a beat. Extraterritorial battlefield? It was another term that he had never heard of before. Are you Emperor Lung Xian? At this moment, Lung Ningyu walked up and asked Martial Monarch Lung Xian. It's me. Emperor Lung Xian nodded slightly. Junior Lung Ningyu from the Seven Emotions sect greets Grandmaster. Lung Ningyu bowed. She had seen Lung Xian's portrait before. She was the great emperor of the Seven Emotions sect, and could be considered as her grandmaster. You've already become a martial emperor. From now on, you can just treat me as someone of the same generation. Lung Xian glanced at Lung Ningyu in relief. Then she said to Chu Kuangren and the others, the main reason I'm here at the Emperor Mountain is to inform the new emperors of something. In a month's time, all of you are invited to the Firmament Stars Snowdragon Mountain for a meeting. At that time, we will answer all of your questions and also explain some matters regarding the emperors. Murongxian and Lan Yu looked at Chu Kuangren after hearing that. Obviously, they were listening to Chu Kuangren. Even Ziwuji was waiting for the other party's reply. All right, we'll keep the appointment in a month. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. Since I've delivered the message, I shall take my leave first. Lung Xian had no intention to stay at the Emperor Mountain any longer. She smiled at Lung Ningyu and said, if there's a chance in the future, I'll return to the Seven Emotions sect. See you at the Snow Dragon Mountain then. After that, Lung Xian and Qingyu, the two great emperors, left. The remaining people looked at each other. Murongxian Lanyu and Lung Ningyu looked at Chu Kuangren, waiting for him to explain. This is not the place to talk. Let's leave first. Chu Kuangren smiled. After that, the few of them left the Emperor Mountain. The remaining cultivators around the Emperor Mountain had yet to recover from the series of changes. The day the new emperor was born, the Emperor Mountain was bathed in blood. Even the veteran emperors were defeated by Chu Kuangren with a single move. I have a feeling that a great change is about to happen in this realm. Yeah, with the birth of a new emperor, I feel that the spiritual qi in the realm has become more abundant, and it's easier to gain insights into the Tao. It's like we're going back to ancient times, when the great Tao was flourishing. Looks like our cultivation will be easier in the future. The cultivators discussed among themselves. As for the Bai clan, the Wang clan, and the other orthodoxies, they could not help but feel dejected when Chu Kuangren killed their new emperor. After waiting for so long, they finally saw their sky prides become emperors. However, they were killed by Chu Kuangren. What the hell is this? They could not help but feel despair. However, soon, as if the orthodoxies had received some kind of message, they all left the Emperor Mountain and returned to their own orthodoxies. The smarter cultivators could guess what was going on when they saw that. With the changes in the realm and the emergence of the great Tao, the emperors are getting impatient. Are they preparing for a new round of arrangements? Perhaps the birth of a new emperor is just the beginning of a new era. I have a feeling that a more glorious era is coming. Some of the cultivators rubbed their palms together eagerly. Chapter 652. Inside the Seven Emotions sect. Chu Kuangren, Lanyu, and the others gathered. Chu Kuangren briefly explained what he had encountered in the burying emperor's coffin, but he left out some details. He only said that he had encountered an opportunity of fortune inside, absorbed the chaotic qi, and became an emperor. The cold moon fairy couldn't help but sigh, confirming the Tao in a coffin. Fellow Taoist Chu, oh no, great Emperor Chu, your experience is truly bizarre. By then, Chu Kuangren had already become an emperor. As for emperors, they could not be neglected or disrespected. Although Chu Kuangren might not mind, the cold moon deity still felt that it was better to be more careful. It's all right. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Then he looked at Murongxian, Nangong Huang, and the others and smiled. How have you guys been? Haha, of course. Now that Lan Yu, Murongxian, and the sect leader have all become emperors, once they return to the Black Heaven sect, they'll definitely dominate the entire firmament star. Nangong Huang laughed. Indeed, it had been more than 100,000 years since an emperor had appeared in the firmament star. Now that the Black Heaven sect had 3 emperors, they had officially become an emperor-level orthodoxy, far surpassing the other orthodoxies. Conquering the firmament star would be a piece of cake. Everything will have to wait until I see the other emperors, Chu Kuangren said. He had a premonition in his heart. The emperors were going to do something. Master, when will we return to the Black Heaven sect? Lan Yu asked. Their goal in entering the Emperor's Road was to ascend to the top and become a martial emperor. Now they had achieved their goal. It was about time for him to return to the Black Heaven sect. Let's rest in the Seven Emotions sect for a day, and then leave. Fellow Taoist Lung Yu, can we stay here for a day? Of course. The cold moon fairy smiled faintly. He was now a great emperor. She couldn't wait to curry favor with him. That night, Chu Kuangren sat with his legs crossed, absorbing the spiritual qi from the heavens and earth, and refining it into emperor's essence. Not long after, he slowly opened his eyes. The spiritual energy in this world has indeed become denser, and it's still getting stronger. Has the heavenly Tao become stronger? Chu Kuangren opened his palm. A mysterious Tao pattern was faintly discernible in his palm. That was the Heaven Punishment Tao pattern. It could be seen as an upgraded version of Heavenly Punishment Taoist rhyme. This was something that he had grasped after he became a martial emperor. Through this Heaven Punishment Tao pattern, he was more sensitive to the changes in heaven and earth than others. Not only that, but as the heavenly Tao strengthened, Chu Kuangren could feel that the power of the Heavenly Punishment Taoist pattern was also increasing. In other words, Chu Kuangren did not need to cultivate anymore. Due to the strength of the heavenly Tao, his strength was also increasing along with it. This was simply inconceivable. Since ancient times, nothing like this had ever happened. After unlocking the Heavenly Punishment Seal, I seem to possess a portion of the Heavenly Tao's power. Is there any other meaning behind this? Also, what do the God of Light and the God of Darkness mean by the Heaven's Executioner? Is it related to the power of Heaven's punishment? Chu Kuangren shook his head. Unfortunately, he had forgotten to ask the Chaos Tao Master about the heavenly punishment when he was in the Emperor burying coffin. Otherwise, the Chaos Tao Master might have known something. He stopped thinking about it. One day he would slowly understand these things. Let's head to the Snow Dragon Mountain first and meet up with the emperors. After that, I'll sort out my plans for the future, Chu Kuangren muttered. The next day, Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, and the others parted ways with the Cold Moon Fairy Lady and the others. However, there were two more people in his group. They were Lung Ningyu and Red Moon. They were going to Firmament Star as well. This was because the Snow Dragon Mountain that the emperors mentioned was in Firmament Star, and it was quite a famous place. It was one of the 10 great forbidden areas of Firmament Star. After understanding that, Lung Ningyu decided to leave with Chu Kuangren. As for Red Moon, she was just there to join in the fun. Besides that, Murong Xian also made a trip to Seven Cord City to fetch Yang Xiyun. Before this, Yang Xiyun's sect, the Hope Sound sect, had tried to stop the two from falling in love. But now they no longer did. Of course, Murong Xian was already an emperor. Who would dare to stop him? When Murong Xian came to visit, the sect leader of the Xiyin clan was extremely courteous. He shamelessly apologized. He said that he was a great emperor, and that he had failed to recognize you in the past. He said that he hoped that he would let bygones be bygones. In the end, he respectfully pushed Yang Xiyun out. With that, the two lovers finally got married. TSK, now that the two of you have gotten what you wanted, young lovebirds, I wonder how many people will be envious of you. Chu Kuangren looked at Murong Xian and the slightly shy Yang Xiyun and teased them. Beside them, Nangong Huang and the others also offered their blessings. Sect leader, when we return to Black Heaven sect, I hope that you can witness our marriage. Murong Xian looked at Chu Kuangren and said solemnly, usually, a marriage would be witnessed by the elders of both parties. From Murong Xian's point of view, Chu Kuangren was not only his sect leader, but also the person he respected the most in his life. Of course. Chu Kuangren chuckled. All right, let's go back. Leaving the emperor's path was not difficult for Chu Kuangren, who was already an emperor. All it took was a spatial conveyor skill. On Firmament Star, a ripple appeared in the space. Then more than 10 figures appeared. When the four emperors, Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu Murong Xian, and Lung Ningyu appeared on Firmament Star, the Emperor /S aura that emanated from them caused a tremor in the Firmament Star /S space. However, everything returned to normal soon after. The current Firmament Star could now accommodate Emperor-level existences. Come, let's return to Black Heaven sect. Chu Kuangren led the group back to the Black Heaven sect. Along the way, they did not conceal their aura at all. Their vast emperor's aura was boundless like a vast ocean that filled the heavens and earth. Wherever they went, countless living beings prostrated themselves. It was as if they had returned home in glory. After cultivating for so many years, now that they had finally become emperors, how could they hide it? Of course, they had to announce it to the world, so that everyone would come and congratulate them. On Firmament Star, every sage orthodoxy and forbidden area could feel the emperor's aura that emanated from Chu Kuangren and the others. In an instant, the entire Firmament Star shook. What a terrifying aura. Oh my God, what kind of existence is this? Emperor's aura, it's unprecedented. This is definitely the arrival of an emperor. My God, I knew something big was going to happen when the heavens and earth changed a while ago. So someone has become an emperor. Who is it? That's Chu Kuangren. F*** Kami, it's really that guy. Wait a minute, it's not just Chu Kuangren, there's also Lan Yu and Morongxian. Both of them have become emperors too. All the cultivators on Firmament Star were dumbfounded. Although they were shocked that Chu Kuangren had become an emperor, they were not surprised. After all, Chu Kuangren's past achievements were clear for all to see. However, how did Morongxian and Lan Yu become emperors too? The Black Heaven sect suddenly had 3 emperors. Are you kidding me? What are the other orthodoxies going to do? Why don't we just give the entire Firmament Star to the Black Heaven sect? Chapter 653. Chu Kuangren and the others did not bother to hide their emperor's aura as they swept across the sage orthodoxies and forbidden areas. Every cultivator in the Firmament Star knew that someone from the Black Heaven sect had become an emperor. And it was not just 1 or 2, but 3. There had not been an emperor in the Firmament Star for hundreds of thousands of years. Now that there were 3 of them, everyone could not take it anymore. The Black Heaven sect was too heaven-defying. How arrogant of them. On a certain mountain peak, a middle-aged man could not help but scoff when he saw Chu Kuangren, Morongxian, and the others flying above him. He had a sword hanging from his waist, and his entire body emanated a sharp sword chi. An extremely dense emperor's aura was vaguely emitted from his body. When Chu Kuangren walked past them, the 2 of them looked at each other. However, they quickly averted their gazes and did not make eye contact. Next to the middle-aged man was a scholarly man in green robes. He held a fan in his hand and smiled. There's a saying in the mortal world that goes like this. Not returning to one's hometown when one is rich is like walking at night in luxurious clothes. It's the same in the cultivation world. Now that he's an emperor, of course he has to show off. I'm just worried that he might overdo it as a new emperor. Brother Jianfeng, I know that the swordsman tribe has some grudges with this person. But you've been an emperor for hundreds of thousands of years. Don't let these small things bother you. This person is not simple. Although he's a new emperor, he gives me an unfathomable feeling. It's best if you don't provoke him. The scholarly man in green robes chuckled. Jianfeng nodded slightly. Don't worry, I understand. Far away, in the depths of the ocean, a man with golden scales on his forehead opened his eyes and looked into the distance. When he sensed the new emperor's aura from Chu Kuangren and the others, he could not help but scoff. Chu Kuangren, I look forward to meeting you. After that, he closed his eyes again. Black Heaven sect. A majestic and endless emperor's aura swept over. Elder Ruyan, Honorable Xianqi, Second Forefather, Third Forefather, Fairfrost Sage, White-Robed General, and the others were all shocked. They all looked into the distance, their faces filled with shock. Such a powerful aura. Who did the Black Heaven sect defend? Is that an emperor? Quick, everyone be on guard. Open the formation. Elder Ruyan dashed out and looked into the distance with a serious expression. Just as Elder Ruyan was about to instruct someone to open the astonishing Cloud of Seas formation, she suddenly gasped in surprise as she saw Chu Kuangren and the others approaching them. Her expression changed from shock to ecstasy. It's the sect leader. The sect leader is back. Don't open the formation, it's the sect leader. A streak of fiery light suddenly soared into the sky, transforming into a beautiful divine phoenix that dyed half the sky red. Brother, the godly phoenix Lil Red looked in Chu Kuangren's direction excitedly. Her figure then turned into a fiery red stream of light and dashed towards him. Chu Kuangren opened his arms and was about to give Lil Red a hug, but he realized that Lil Red did not slow down even after approaching him. His expression changed. Little Red, hurry up and stop. Don't get too excited. Lil Red flew too fast and was too emotional. She could not stop in time and crashed into Chu Kuangren. With a rumble, the earth quaked and the mountains shook. The man and the phoenix crashed into a mountain range. Inside a large crater, the godly phoenix Lil Red could not contain her excitement, and kept rubbing her head against Chu Kuangren. "Brother, you're finally back." Chu Kuangren patted her furry head and comforted her with a smile. "It's been hard on you these past few years. I'm back." "Yes, it's good that you're back. It's not hard on me." Not far away, Lung Ningyu and Red Moon could not help but marvel at the godly phoenix. "There's a godly phoenix in the Black Heaven sect?" Godly phoenixes, true dragons. These auspicious divine beasts contain great fortune, and were favored by the heavens and earth. Their rarity was even higher than the primordial descendants. "That's the sect leader's little sister. Her name is Chu Hong," Morong Xian explained from the side. Then the group passed through the astonishing cloud of seas formation and entered the Black Heaven sect. Lil Red had also transformed into her human form. A slender and elegant young lady in a red dress stuck to Chu Kuangren's side. Black Heaven sect, inside the Longevity Hall. Everyone gathered in the hall. Elder Ruyan, the white-robed general, and the others looked at Chu Kuangren and gulped. "Sect leader, you've become an emperor?" Chu Kuangren shrugged and smiled. "Why? Don't I look like one?" "Yes, you look too much like one." "What do you mean look like one?" "It's more like one." "Haha, the heavens have blessed the Black Heaven sect. In this generation, the Black Heaven sect finally has an emperor. This is great." Everyone was so excited that they could not contain themselves. Especially Xianqi, who looked at Chu Kuangren with gratitude. At the same time, he looked at the second forefather and third forefather beside him and said proudly, "I told you guys that I'll become an emperor's tutor one day, didn't I?" Yes, look at how arrogant you are." "Pfft, it doesn't matter if you become an emperor's tutor or not." Then, Elder Ruyan and the others turned to look at Morongxian and Lan Yu as well. Their faces were filled with bewilderment as they asked, "You?" "Yes, we've become emperors too." Morongxian's words made everyone's heads buzz. Elder Ruyan, can you pinch me to see if I'm dreaming?" Xianqi said, a little confused. Elder Ruyan did not hold back and immediately slapped Xianqi out of the hall. Then a cry of pain was heard. "It hurts? And it hurts? Haha, I'm not dreaming." Outside the hall, Xianqi's maniacal laughter could be heard. However, everyone else felt the same. 3 emperors. The Black Heaven sect suddenly had 3 more emperors. This was something that they did not even dare to think about. After the excitement subsided, Chu Kuangren asked about the changes in the Black Heaven sect over the past few years. Besides Elder Ruyan and the others who had more or less improved their cultivation, there were not many other changes. "By the way, sect leader, there's something I need to tell you." Elder Ruyan thought of something and suddenly took out a jade scroll and handed it to Chu Kuangren. "This is a letter from Empress Linglong." "Linglong? What happened to her?" Chu Kuangren frowned. "A few days ago, Empress Linglong suddenly announced her abdication and passed the throne to the 4th prince. Then she disappeared without a trace. Before she left, she sent someone to deliver this jade scroll to you." "I understand now." Chu Kuangren activated his thoughts and read the information on the jade scroll. "Dear husband, how are you?" In the jade scroll, Gu Linglong briefly explained where she went. She said that she met a mysterious woman who also had a godly dark physique like her, and wanted to take her as a disciple. At that time, the royal Azure dynasty was already at peace and the people were living in peace. After some consideration, Gu Linglong decided to take that woman as her master, and leave the dynasty to go somewhere else. As for where that place was, the jade scroll did not mention it in detail. It seemed like Gu Linglong was not very clear about it either. However, she emphasized that she was fine and asked Chu Kuangren not to worry. She also has a godly dark physique. If it wasn't for a great opportunity of fortune, Linglong wouldn't be interested. Who could it be? Chu Kuangren murmured. His emperor's thought surged and soon covered the entire firmament star. At his current cultivation level, even the Forbidden Area's seals could not block his emperor's thought. However, after searching for a while, he found nothing. It seemed like Gu Linglong was no longer in Firmament Star. Chu Kuangren thought for a while, and put this matter aside for now. Chapter 654. The news of Chu Kuangren and the other new emperors returned to the Black Heaven sect spread like wildfire across the entire Firmament Star. Every orthodoxy and forbidden area was shaken by the news. Then, another piece of news came from the Black Heaven sect. All orthodoxies were invited to witness the wedding of the new emperor, Murongxian. For a time, countless sects took action. The wedding of the new emperor. This could be said to be the happiest event in the last 100,000 years. Everyone wanted to join in the fun. The Black Heaven sect is really amazing this time. They managed to produce 3 new emperors all of a sudden. This is unbelievable. They're going to get married as soon as they come back. They're going to announce it to the whole world. Let's go. Let's go to the Black Heaven sect and have a look. We can't be unprepared for the wedding of the new emperor. Let's go look for some treasures first. It's fine if the new emperor doesn't like them. What's important is his sincerity. All the major forces in the firmament star began to get busy. Everyone wanted to show off in front of the new emperor and build a good relationship. On the day of Murongxian's wedding, the entire Black Heaven sect was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Hang the lanterns properly. Hang them in every building. There's also the red carpet. Lay it out for me. What's the meaning of walking the red carpet? Is there such a ceremony for cultivators to get married? Elder Ruyan directed the disciples to prepare for the wedding. Even though she was very busy, there was a smile on her face. It had been a long time since the Black Heaven sect was this lively. Not far away, Yang Shiyun and Murongxian watched on helplessly. Murongxian said, "We only wanted the sect leader to be our witness to our marriage. How dare he make such a big scene?" Nonsense. Not only are you the new emperor, but you're also the Taoist of the Black Heaven sect. Of course, you have to put on a grand show. Besides, this marriage ceremony only happens once in a lifetime. The lady has entrusted her entire life to you. Do you want to settle it hastily? You have to do it beautifully. Elder Ruyan glared at Murongxian. Even though Murongxian had become a martial emperor, he still behaved like a junior in front of Elder Ruyan. He did not dare to talk back to her, and could only laugh dryly. Let me see what else I need to do. Elder Ruyan took out a small book. It was filled with Chu Kuangren's suggestions for the wedding. Ring? He even wants a pair of rings as a token of engagement. The sect leader sure has a lot of tricks, Elder Ruyan muttered. Then she said to Murongxian, "Both of you hurry up and look for a pair of rings. We'll need them for the wedding ceremony." "Oh, all right." Murongxian hurriedly nodded. Hey, that lantern is crooked. Elder Ruyan continued with her work. 3 days later, on the day of the wedding, 8-Wind Palace presents 10 10,000-year-old corals. The White Jade Tower will gift you 5,000 kilograms of white jade essence and 100 white jade belts. 10,000 Flowers Valley gifted me with 10 strange flowers. Quasi-Emperor Tian Shuang of the Netherworld Valley gifted me 10 pieces of profound ice. The sect masters of the various Taoist orthodoxies and quasi-emperors of the various forbidden lands also arrived. They all took out the congratulatory gifts that they had prepared. Ahem, I can't take it anymore. My throat is a little sore. At the reception area, a disciple coughed twice and passed the list in his hand to a disciple beside him. There were simply too many congratulatory gifts. Almost all the reputable forces and cultivators in the firmament star had come. In front of the longevity hall, all the orthodoxies, sect leaders and cultivators had gathered in the hall. One table after another was placed next to another. It was an incredibly grand sight. "Everyone, I hope you've been well. 8-Wind Palace Lord, you're here too." "Yeah. How could I not be here for the new emperor's wedding?" "Elder Ruyan, your Black Heaven sect sure is lucky to have 3 new emperors in one go. We're so jealous." "It's all thanks to our sect leader's leadership." Elder Ruyan and the others were busy dealing with the guests. At that moment, a person walked out of the longevity hall. He had black hair and was dressed in a white wide-sleeved robe. His handsome face was very familiar to everyone present. It was Chu Kuangren. Upon seeing him, everyone quickly stood up and bowed. "Greetings, Sect Leader Chu." "Greetings, Sect Leader Chu." Chu Kuangren smiled and said, "Everyone, please don't stand on ceremony. Today is a joyous day for the Black Heaven sect. Please enjoy your meal and drink to your heart's content." He glanced at Elder Ruyan who was beside him. She immediately understood. Serve the wine. One by one, the disciples served the wine. In an instant, the fragrance of the wine mixed with a faint herbal aroma permeated the air. When the surrounding cultivators smelled the wine, they could not help but feel their spiritual power become restless. They could not help but be surprised. "What wine is this?" one of the cultivators asked in surprise as he took a sip from the wine cup. When the wine entered his throat, it was mellow and refreshing. Then, it turned into an incomparably pure spiritual energy that swept through his limbs and bones. It actually healed some of the hidden injuries in his body. Moreover, it also increased his spiritual energy by a large margin. "What a great wine! What a treasure!" the cultivator exclaimed. The others heard him and started to taste the wine. Gasps could be heard one after another. "This wine can heal injuries, increase spiritual power, and cleanse the body of impurities. Just this cup alone has healed the damaged meridians in my body. Isn't this amazing?" "It's incredible indeed. What a great treasure." The crowd stared at the wine jars before them with fiery eyes. Even some of the sages were amazed. "This spring rain wine is a small gift from me to all of you. I welcome everyone to the Black Heaven sect," Chu Kuangren said with a smile. The spring rain wine was a medicinal wine brewed by Chu Kuangren. He possessed the inheritance of a top-notch doctor, and the Black Heaven sect had many supreme elixirs and other resources. It was not difficult for him to brew such a wine. "Thank you, sect leader Chu. This wine is very useful to us." After all, a cultivator would suffer internal injuries if they made any mistakes in their cultivation, such as damaged meridians. Once these internal injuries accumulated to a certain extent, it would become a huge obstacle to the cultivator's path of cultivation. It could only be solved after becoming a sage and forming a sage's body. However, how many cultivators in the firmament star could become a sage? Chu Kuangren's spring rain wine was too useful to them. Besides healing injuries, it could also increase one's spiritual power. Jian Feng of the swordsman tribe is here to congratulate the new emperor on his wedding. At that moment, a calm voice rang from the sky. A golden ray of light suddenly descended from the sky. That was a sword. It was a sword that looked like it was forged from a single piece of gold. Taoist patterns flowed on the sword's body, and it emitted a terrifying aura. At that moment, it was like a meteorite falling from the sky towards the longevity hall. Countless cultivators felt a terrifying domineering aura. Even a boundary emperor found it hard to move under this domineering aura. It was extremely horrifying. What kind of power was this? Chu Kuangren squinted his eyes as he looked at the sword that was flying towards him. He then took a step forward, formed a sword finger and slowly pointed it forward. When the tip of the sword and the tip of the finger collided, there was no earth-shattering impact. The crowd only saw the Taoist patterns on the long sword's body disintegrating, and the terrifying domineering aura gradually dissipated. In the end, the sword returned to its ancient appearance, and was quietly held in Chu Kuangren's hand. The crowd took a closer look and realized that the sword had not been sharpened yet. Strictly speaking, it was just a sword embryo. In the void, a white-robed middle-aged man walked out and said, "Jian Feng of the swordsman tribe has gifted me a golden crescent sword embryo. Please accept it." Chapter 655. In the void, the white-robed middle-aged man looked at Chu Kuangren and said indifferently. Chu Kuangren glanced at him and placed the sword billet aside. He said, "I thank the swordsman tribe for their gift. Since you're here, please take a seat." "Then I won't stand on ceremony," the white-robed middle-aged man said. In a flash, he arrived at the banquet table. The cultivators around him quickly made way for him. Judging from his behavior, this man could very well be an emperor as well. With an emperor here, how could they afford to sit with him? Hence, Jian Feng occupied an entire table by himself. Chu Kuangren did not bother with him anymore. The wedding ceremony was about to begin. "Now let's welcome the newlyweds," Elder Ruyan said loudly. Suddenly, there was a surge of auspicious light in the sky. Then, two figures descended from the clouds. The man was tall and handsome while the woman had an exquisite face. Both of them were dressed in red, and they looked like a perfect match. Both of them landed on the red carpet and walked towards the longevity hall. Wherever the two of them went, there was an auspicious light flowing beneath their feet. The surrounding cultivators immediately stood up to congratulate them. Congratulations, congratulations. Congratulations on your marriage, Emperor. May the two of you live happily ever after. Murongxian and Yang Xian walked towards Chu Kuangren with a red ribbon in their hands and looked at each other. Chu Kuangren coughed twice and said solemnly, Murongxian, are you willing to take Yang Xian as your wife? No matter if she's poor or rich, beautiful or not, successful or not, you will love her, respect her, protect her, and be faithful to her for the rest of your life. Murongxian nodded solemnly. I am. Yang Xian, are you willing to marry Murongxian and let him be your husband? Regardless of whether you're poor or rich, beautiful or not, successful or unsuccessful, you're willing to love him, respect him, protect him, and be loyal to him for the rest of your life. Yang Xian blushed slightly. She then looked at Murongxian and nodded seriously. I am. Very well. I hereby announce that the two of you may put the rings on each other and officially become husband and wife. Chu Kuangren smiled in satisfaction. Murongxian. Yang Xian took out her ring and helped him put it on. In an instant, the heaven Dao seemed to have sensed it, and it sent down golden auspicious clouds that were accompanied by waves of profound sounds of the Dao to witness the marriage of the Grand Emperor. The ceremony is complete. The applause below the stage was thunderous. The great orthodoxies all congratulated him. At that point, Murongxian and Yang Xian officially became Taoist partners under Chu Kuangren's witness. They would never leave each other for the rest of their lives. The banquet continued. Murongxian and Yang Xian entertained the guests. In another place, Chu Kuangren, on the other hand, was the first to leave the arena. He arrived at a mountain peak where Jian Feng of the swordsman tribe had already left the arena and was waiting for him there. Fellow Taoist, aren't you going down for a drink? I don't like crowded places. Jian Feng said calmly as a surge of powerful emperor's aura gradually emanated from his body and locked onto Chu Kuangren. The reason why I've come to you today is to witness your strength. There's truly no end to the sword race in me. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. He had defeated Jian Daozi, an emperor, and above him was the emperor of the sword clan. One after another, he was starting to get annoyed. Don't worry. After today's battle, the grudge between you and the swordsman tribe will be written off. From now on, we will have nothing to do with each other. That better be the case. Let's draw our swords then. Whoosh! The Taoist patterns on Jian Feng's body surged and surged towards Chu Kuangren. It was a pure Taoist pattern without the addition of Emperor's Qi. Oh, do you want to spar? Chu Kuangren said calmly. Taoist patterns also surged on his body. When the two Taoist patterns collided in the void, a terrifying shockwave suddenly emerged and shook the void. Gradually, Jian Feng's Tao was suppressed by Chu Kuangren. In terms of realms, you're above me. But in terms of Tao, you're far inferior to me. Chu Kuangren said. His Tao was the perfect Tao, which was very close to the ultimate Tao. Such a Tao was too rare. Even if Jian Feng's realm was higher than Chu Kuangren's, it was impossible for him to surpass Chu Kuangren in terms of Tao. Humph. Jian Feng snorted and a sword ray shot out from his body. The Emperor's Qi surged and the Taoist patterns intertwined within it. He made his move. When Chu Kuangren saw that, he too unleashed a sword attack. Amidst the explosion, the two sword Qi collided, and the space around them fluctuated so violently that the entire Black Heaven sect could feel it. In the distance, the guests were shocked. What a terrifying power. What the hell is going on? Could it be a battle between emperors? Some people had already thought of Chu Kuangren and Jian Feng, who were not present at the scene. They had a vague idea of what was going on. Murongxian smiled at the crowd. Everyone, enjoy your meal. It's just a small problem. The sect leader will take care of it. After the sword Qi collided, the void was immediately torn apart. Chu Kuangren said, Today is a joyous day for the Black Heaven sect. I don't want to spoil the mood of the guests. Let's enter the void in battle. Then, a pitch-black crack appeared in front of him. In a flash, his figure had already disappeared. Jian Feng followed suit. In the dusky void, countless spatial turbulences surged, and within them were surges of powerful spatial energy. Vaguely, these spatial energies reflected the appearance of reality: mountains, rivers, bustling streets, and so on. This was the void. It was the gap between reality and the void. Cultivators with insufficient cultivation would never be able to come into contact with the existence of this layer of space. In the void, two figures suddenly appeared. Chu Kuangren and Jianfeng stood in the air. "Let's fight here. Control your strength, and you won't have to worry about affecting reality too much," Chu Kuangren said. "Bring it on." Jianfeng no longer held back his emperor's aura, and it completely exploded. A peak third-level emperor realm cultivator. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and saw through Jianfeng's strength. It was the same realm as Qinyu, whom he had encountered previously. However, the difference was that Qinyu had an ordinary Dao and an ordinary emperor essence. On the other hand, Jianfeng had mastered an incomplete Dao, which was a mid-tier emperor essence. The quality of Dao and emperor essence were a grade apart. Even if their cultivation levels were the same, the combat strength that they could unleash was completely different. A longsword appeared in Jianfeng's hand. It was an emperor weapon. He channeled his emperor's qi into the emperor weapon, and with a slash, the intertwined Taoist patterns formed a giant net that trapped Chu Kuangren within. Chu Kuangren did not back down, and he unleashed his descendant self-sword. A dazzling sword ray that contained his invincible technique erupted, and it instantly tore apart the sword qi net. However, the sword ray slashed at Jianfeng like a hot knife through butter, forcing him to retreat dozens of kilometers away. He looked at Chu Kuangren in disbelief. "This is profound. You've mastered a profound technique." He could not believe it. Those who could create their own profound techniques were all people who had immersed themselves in the Emperor realm for a long time, and they had a deep understanding of their own Dao. However, Chu Kuangren, who had just ascended to the Emperor realm not too long ago, had already mastered a profound technique that most emperors could not. "Is that enough to surprise you? How about this?" Chu Kuangren moved his sword finger and activated the Emperor essence within his body again. His power increased by another level, and Jianfeng's expression changed again. This Emperor essence. Chapter 656. Chu Kuangren's Emperor's essence increased again. That made Jianfeng's expression change. The quality of Chu Kuangren's Emperor's essence had far surpassed his. Only a top-tier Emperor's essence could possess such power. No, even a top-tier Emperor's essence rarely had such power. How many surges of Emperor's essence did he use when he formed his Emperor's essence foundation? 1,000 surges? 2,000? Or even more? Jianfeng's expression turned grim. There were many factors that affected an emperor's combat strength, but the two most important ones were the emperor's Dao and emperor's essence. In the same realm, if one was stronger in these two aspects, they would have a greater advantage and could even challenge someone of a higher realm. Now, Chu Kuangren's emperor's Dao and emperor's essence were stronger than Jianfeng's. Not only that, but Chu Kuangren had also mastered the mysteries that only a few emperors could master. With that, it would be difficult for Jianfeng to defeat Chu Kuangren despite his higher cultivation realm. In fact, he might even lose. Heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. Chu Kuangren raised his arm and unleashed a sword attack. The sword qi howled like a mountain torrent, causing the void to tremble. Its power was so strong that it even caused ripples in the real world. Jianfeng let out a low growl as he channeled all of his emperor's essence and emperor's essence to its limit. When he unleashed a sword attack, a large number of Taoist patterns intertwined and formed a giant white sword shadow. Emperor technique, torrential sword flow. The two great emperor techniques collided, causing the void to tremble and the surrounding spatial turbulence to be torn apart by their sword qi. In the end, Jianfeng could no longer withstand the power of the heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. He was blasted away by the sword qi, and the Taoist patterns on his body showed signs of breaking. It seemed like he was injured quite badly. "I've lost this battle." Jianfeng did not try to hold on any longer. He immediately admitted defeat. Chu Kuangren did not kill him. He did not want to cause any more trouble before he had a clear understanding of the situation. He retracted his aura, opened a spatial crack, and returned to the real world. Jianfeng followed suit. They were still in the Black Heaven sect's territory. Chu Kuangren glanced at Jianfeng and said, "If you want to continue attending the wedding, I don't mind. After all, you've given me a gift." After that, he turned around and walked towards the longevity hall. Humph. Jianfeng snorted coldly and followed after them. He stared at Chu Kuangren's back with a curious look in his eyes. How could a new emperor possess such terrifying combat strength? What other secrets did this guy have? After the wedding banquet, the guests gradually dispersed. Night. The bright moon hung high in the sky, its moonlight like water. Chu Kuangren was sitting cross-legged on his bed with a sword ray circulating within his body. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was a white jade-like sword ray. That was Kunwu. At that moment, Chu Kuangren was trying to upgrade his descendant self-sword's grade. He had been using the Kunwu sword since the beginning of his cultivation, and it had experienced all kinds of extraordinary things, such as merging with the sword's soul and absorbing the Saint Purple Qi. It was no longer the same as it was at the beginning. Now Chu Kuangren had become an emperor. This sword could have long been upgraded to an imperial armament. Chu Kuangren was now using his own emperor's qi to nourish descendant self. Soon, 10 days had passed. On this day, the Kunwu sword let out a soft cry. A powerful sword pressure came from the sword, causing all the swords on the mysterious Heaven Sword Mountain to tremble. The Kunwu sword had officially become a sovereign weapon. After so many years, you've finally become an imperial armament. In that case, please guide me in the future. Chu Kuangren chuckled as he ran his finger across the descendant self. The descendant self trembled slightly in response. Chu Kuangren even felt an excited consciousness, which belonged to the descendant self. The descendant self was a sword with a life of its own. After all, not every weapon had a soul. Even an emperor armament would find it difficult to give birth to a soul. At most, it would only have a bit of spiritual consciousness. However, the descendant self had merged with the sword soul and the Saint Purple Qi, so it had a complete soul that even an emperor armament did not have. Therefore, Chu Kuangren never treated the descendant self as an ordinary tool. Instead, he treated it as a true combat partner. Although he had obtained many emperor armaments, including many swords that were more powerful than the descendant self, he had never thought of replacing it. He kept the descendant self and tied it back to his waist. He then walked out of the room. Meanwhile, in the towering Heaven Palace's courtyard, the 3 new emperors, Lan Yu, Murong Xian, and Lung Ningyu, were gathered together and sparring. 3 types of gorgeous Taoist patterns intertwined in the air. Beside them, Liu Bing, Nangong Huang, Shang Qingxue, and the others were watching attentively, experiencing the sparring session with their hearts. Chu Kuangren was also watching from the side, and he used his eye of revelation to check out the 3's cultivation realms to determine their combat strengths. Among them, Lan Yu was the strongest. Her emperor essence had reached the top tier, and her Dao had also reached the flawless grade. Next was Lung Ningyu, who had a mid-tier emperor essence while her Dao was at the top tier. Perhaps it was because of their Taoist physiques. Murong Xian, on the other hand, had a lower-tier emperor essence and a normal emperor Dao. After watching that exchange, Chu Kuangren did not disturb the 3. His figure disappeared on the spot, and reappeared at a mountain 10,000 kilometers away from the Black Heaven sect. His emperor's thought scanned the area, and after making sure that no one was around, he took out the female emperor's head. He took a deep breath and removed the talisman on it. Chu Kuangren sensed a strange fluctuation spreading out. "I hope everything goes well," he murmured. This time, he was here to meet the headless female emperor. To be precise, that person's name was Luo Shui. He was the Chaos Taoist master's disciple. As the fluctuation from Luo Shui's head spread out, a figure soon tore through the void and appeared before Chu Kuangren. That figure did not have a head. It was one of the firmament star's 7 great mysterious stories, the Headless Lady. In other words, Luo Shui Empress. When she sensed the fluctuation from the head in Chu Kuangren's hand, Luo Shui Empress immediately attacked him without saying a word. Her terrifying Tao had condensed into Taoist patterns in the void. She's so strong. Compared to the last time we met, she's even stronger. No, it's not that she's stronger. Ever since the firmament star's heavenly Tao became stronger, it can now contain even more power. Chu Kuangren murmured. Luo Shui Empress had not unleashed her full power before this. That was because the firmament star's heavenly Tao was damaged, so it could not contain all of her power. Now that the heavenly Tao had been repaired, she could unleash more of her power on the firmament star. Naturally, her power had become stronger. Heavenly reversal. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and activated his technique of invincibility. When the two forces collided, a terrifying shockwave spread out like a tidal wave, causing the mountains and rivers within a 10,000-kilometer radius to tremble. Cracks began to appear in the void. Chu Kuangren and Luo Shui Empress were both forced to retreat. Compared to the sword tempest, Qin Yu is even stronger. She's still so powerful even without her head. If she were to recover, her strength would at least be at the full success. No, a full emperor? Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and analyzed the headless empress. Now he could already see more information about her. He could tell that she was at least a full emperor when she was at her peak. Her emperor's essence and emperor's Tao were both top-tier and perfect. Top-tier emperor's essence and Tao of perfection. Among the emperors, it was an extremely rare existence. Stop, I'll return your head. Chu Kuangren tossed the head in his hand away. Luo Shui Empress immediately caught it and did not attack again. Instead, she immediately pressed the head back onto her own. The moment the head came into contact with the head, Chu Kuangren could clearly see a faint blood-red light emitting from the wound. The flesh and blood were quickly fusing back together. I can't believe it can be reattached. Chu Kuangren exclaimed. Chapter 657. The Luo Shui Empress, who had reattached her head, suddenly opened her eyes, and an unparalleled emperor's aura spread out crazily like a tide. Chu Kuangren channeled the emperor's qi within his body and withstood the domineering aura. The Luo Shui Empress glanced at Chu Kuangren. Just when Chu Kuangren was about to say something, the other party lifted his hand and tore open a spatial rift before disappearing without a trace. So fast. Chu Kuangren shook his head helplessly. He thought for a while and guessed that his opponent had probably found a place to recover. If there's a chance in the future, I'll give the Chaos Imperial Sutra to her. Chu Kuangren muttered. The imperial scripture that he was referring to was naturally written by the Chaos Tao Master, who had entrusted him to hand it over to Empress Luo Shui. However, this was also good. This Chaos Imperial Sutra was broad and profound. If he left it with him for the time being, he could take the opportunity to properly comprehend it. After dealing with Empress Luo Shui, Chu Kuangren returned to the Black Heaven sect and temporarily went into closed-door meditation to learn the Chaos Emperor scripture. This was compiled by the Chaos Taoist Master. An emperor like the Chaos Taoist Master had such a deep understanding of the Tao that even Chu Kuangren benefited greatly from it. He extracted the essence from it and continued to perfect his own Tao. The Chaos Tao Master had once said that it was extremely difficult for an emperor's Tao to improve without a great opportunity. However, that was only when compared to the other emperors. He did not know how terrifying Chu Kuangren's level of understanding was. Things that were impossible in the eyes of others were often realized by Chu Kuangren. For example, after comprehending the Primal Chaos Imperial Sutra this time, he had gained a lot of experience, and his Tao of invincibility had actually improved a little. Not only that, but his esoteric technique had also improved greatly. Profound mysteries were the same, but they also had different qualities. Similar to Emperor Essences, the invincible technique was also divided into 5 grades: lower tier, middle tier, top tier, supreme tier, and ultimate. Chu Kuangren's invincible technique was only a beginner lower tier technique, but it had now reached the top tier level. Top rank profound mystery. Even some Empyreans might not be able to grasp it. Looking at the time, it's about time to go to the Snow Dragon Mountain. Chu Kuangren muttered. The Snow Dragon Mountain was one of the 10 forbidden grounds. Before Chu Kuangren entered the Emperor's Road, he had once visited the boundary emperors in this area and conversed with them. Therefore, he was familiar with this place. The Snow Dragon Mountain was covered in snow all year round. It snowed for at least 300 days a year. The mountains rose and fell like a dragon. Hence, it was named the Snow Dragon Mountain. On the highest dragon head peak of the Snow Dragon Mountain, a palace made of ice rose from the ground. It was grand and majestic. Chu Kuangren, Lan Yu, Lung Ningyu, and Murong Xian had also arrived at the entrance of the palace. Ziwuji was there too. When the man saw Chu Kuangren, he immediately bowed to him. Greetings, fellow Taoist Chu. You're welcome, fellow Taoist Zi. Chu Kuangren smiled. He could tell that Ziwuji was somewhat cautious around him. It was obvious that he had killed 4 new emperors on the Mount of Emperors. This incident had not completely disappeared yet. Becoming a martial emperor was Ziwuji's greatest pursuit in his life. He had thought that he would be able to rest easy after becoming a martial emperor, and he would be able to transcend freedom. However, he did not expect Qin Tianqian and the others, who were both emperors like him and were even stronger than him, to be killed by Chu Kuangren one by one. This matter had a huge impact on him. So much so that he still had a lingering fear when he thought about it. If he had attacked Lan Yu and the others from the Black Heaven sect back then, there would be another dead body on the Mount of Emperors. Boom! At that moment, the palace's door opened. A surge of chilling qi gushed out. Come in. An indifferent voice was heard. Chu Kuangren and the other 3 walked straight into a great hall. A group of emperors was gathered here. Ziwuji was secretly speechless. Every emperor here was a veteran emperor, and their strength was much more terrifying than his. You're finally here. Lung Xian walked up and smiled. Senior, we're here. Is there anything we need to tell you? Lung Mingyu bowed to Lung Xian. Don't be so formal. Besides, I've already said that we can just talk as peers from now on. Lung Xian chuckled. She said, let's find a place to sit first. Chu Kuangren and the others found a seat. At the same time, they were secretly observing the emperors, and the emperors were also curiously sizing them up. After all, it had been a long time since the emperors had new blood. Are these the new emperors? Why are there only 5? I remember there were 9 new emperors on the Mount of Emperors this time. Where are the others? I heard from Qinyu that they were killed by one of them. Who? Hey, that young immortal-like emperor in white clothes. Don't underestimate him. He's not as simple as he looks. Yeah, I've heard about him too. Not long ago, the underworld demonic realm wanted to invade the firmament world, but they were stopped by this person. The emperors were curiously sizing Chu Kuangren up. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation and scanned through each of the emperors present, analyzing their information one by one. In the end, he was a little disappointed. In the past, the divine predictor had brought a group of emperors to express his gratitude, but none of those emperors were here. Obviously, the emperors before him were only a small portion of them. Not only that, these emperors were not very powerful. The strongest among them was only a complete emperor. There was not even a heavenly honorable among them, not to mention the strongest Tao Lord. Apart from that, Chu Kuangren also noticed that one of the emperors with golden scales on his forehead was glaring at him with hostility in his eyes. That person was from the Kirin clan, and his name was Dark North Black Color. Emperor of the Kirin clan, I hope you won't mess around. Chu Kuangren placed his hand on the descendant self-sword's hilt and said, Sorry for the long wait. At that moment a voice was heard. A man and a woman walked in. This man had a dignified appearance, and his black hair draped over his shoulders. He wore a white brocade robe, and the woman beside him was graceful and luxurious. There was a faint cold aura emanating from her body, which was exactly the same as the aura of this ice palace. Starform Emperor, 9th level Emperor. Frost Jade Emperor, 7th level Emperor. Chu Kuangren scanned them with his Eye of Revelation. They were 2 absolute circle monarchs, especially the Star Transformation Great Monarch, who was in the 9th layer of the early Emperor realm, and was the strongest among them. The 2 of them behaved intimately like a pair of Taoist companions. Greetings, Starform Emperor. Upon seeing the star-form emperor and his companion, the emperor stood up and bowed. The emperor smiled and nodded. Then, he sat on the main seat in the great hall and smiled at Chu Kuangren and the others. You are the new emperors of this era. I know you have many questions, and I'll answer them one by one. Why didn't the emperors come out before? Ziwuji was the first to ask. The heavenly Tao is incomplete, so we can't use our powers within the firmament star. Even in the 9 heavens, there are some restrictions. What about now? The heavenly Tao is complete. What's the extraterrestrial battlefield? It was not Ziwuji who asked that question. It was Chu Kuangren. Upon hearing the words extraterrestrial battlefield, everyone's expression turned solemn. The celestial condensation great emperor said, "This is also the most important piece of information that I want to tell you. That is, firmament star is currently facing a calamity that has lasted since ancient times and has been going on for 12 eras. Chapter 658. A calamity that lasted for 12 eras, huh? Chu Kuangren murmured. An eras was 129,600 years. 12 eras, that was more than 1,000,000 years ago. What kind of calamity could last until now? Ziwuji and the others could not imagine it. They felt that they had come into contact with the deepest secrets of this world. A long time ago, a group of extraterrestrial visitors appeared outside Firmament Star. They called themselves the Blood Tribe, and their goal was to enslave Firmament Star and turn us into their slaves. Because of this, the emperors and the Blood Tribe started a war. In the end, they stopped the Blood Tribe from entering Firmament Star, but they also paid a huge price. Aside from the sacrifices of countless sages, the heavenly Tao was also damaged during that war, and it deteriorated day by day. As the number of emperors decreased, the post-celestial Taos entered a dormant period in order to recover its strength and repair itself. After many years of self-evolution, it gradually recovered and formed 9 emperor thrones in one go. This is also the real reason why there were no emperors in recent times. The extraterrestrial battlefield is where we fought the Blood Tribe. It's located outside Firmament Star, so it's called the extraterrestrial battlefield. The Star Condensation Emperor explained. Everyone was shocked. Although the Star Condensation Emperor did not say much, the information contained in his words was extremely huge. Chu Kuangren was also deep in thought. The Blood Tribe first appeared 12 eras ago, which was probably when the War of Defiance Gods had just ended. Was it because of the Blood Tribe's invasion that the emperors did not have the chance to rescue the Chaos Taoist Lord, causing him to be trapped until now? Are the emperors in the extraterrestrial battlefield? Chu Kuangren asked again. Some of them are guarding the 9 heavens. The 9 heavens is a space created by the emperors, and it's also one of our lines of defense against the Blood Tribe. The reason we came to Firmament Star this time is to make arrangements. After all, now that the heavenly Tao has recovered, more emperors will be born in the future, and we will guide them here. Besides, the most important thing is to keep an eye on the deities that are sealed here. We must not let them create chaos. The Star Condensation Emperor said. Deities? What are they? The God of Light? Ziwuji asked curiously. He felt that what he had seen and heard today was too much. He estimated that he would need some time to digest it when he returned. The God of Light is just one of them. Before resisting the Blood Kindred, there was a war against the gods. Like the Blood Kindred, the gods who tried to enslave the human race were defeated and sealed in the endless void. The seal has been gone for a long time, and with the recovery of the heavenly axiom, we are afraid that these gods will break the seal, so we came here to guard. Star Transformation Great Emperor answered everyone's questions. Then he waved his hand. A gigantic 2D map appeared before everyone's eyes, and there were many places on this map that Chu Kuangren was familiar with. For example, the 10 Great Forbidden Grounds, the encampments of the various great orthodoxies, and so on. This was the map of the Firmament Star. Alright, let's discuss the place we will be looking after. Star Transformation Great Emperor smiled. Chu Kuangren did not know if it was an illusion, But he noticed that the emperor's eyes lit up the moment the firmament star's map appeared. The ocean is the Kirin tribe's territory, so let me look after the ocean. Emperor North North of the Kirin tribe said. That won't do. There are at least 20 gods sealed in the ocean. How can you look after all of them alone? Let me look after half of the ocean for you, one of the emperors said. There's no need for that. I can handle it alone. Of course. How can I let you do it alone? Then let me look after the Nether Abyss Valley, with a radius of 8 million kilometers. The Nether Abyss Valley has a radius of 8 million kilometers? Heh, you sure are arrogant. I'll give you a maximum of 4 million kilometers. This place is not bad. It's rich in spiritual chi. After the recovery of the heavenly axiom, it will definitely give birth to many treasures. Ahem, no, the god that was sealed here is very powerful. It's a ferocious deity, so let me look after it. The emperors were planning out the places they were going to look after, but Chu Kuangren and the others felt a little strange watching from the side. That was because these people did not look like they were going to complete a mission. Instead, they looked more like they were dividing territories. That's right, they were dividing territories. The more Chu Kuangren looked at them, the more he felt that way. Did these emperors come to the firmament star to divide their territories? Brother Chu, the Black Heaven sect is your orthodoxy, right? That place of yours isn't very good. There are 3 gods sealed within a radius of 7 million kilometers. Why don't you let me look after it for you? At that moment, an elegant white-robed man said to Chu Kuangren. Brother Bai, didn't you say that you're going to look after the soaring snow mountain? Why are you eyeing the Black Heaven sect now? Brother Chu, my cultivation level is higher than his, so let me look after it for you. Stop fooling around, you two. Both of you have your own territories to look after. Brother Chu and I will be in charge of the Black Heaven sect. The few emperors surrounded Chu Kuangren and kept arguing. They looked like they wanted to share Chu Kuangren's burden. Morong Xian and Lan Yu looked at them strangely. Chu Kuangren had a mocking look on his face. He felt like he had understood something. Everyone, the Black Heaven sect is my orthodoxy, so you don't have to worry about it. Lan Yu, Morong Xian, let's leave. Chu Kuangren said, and was about to leave with his people. Hold on, Brother Chu. The gods sealed near the Black Heaven sect are not to be underestimated. You've just ascended to the Emperor realm, so I'm afraid they won't be easy to deal with. Let me look after them for you. The scholarly man in white robes said relentlessly. There's no need for that. Brother Chu, please reconsider. The white-robed man's expression darkened as he said. Morong Xian and Lan Yu were even more confused. What are these emperors up to? Why are they so obsessed with the Black Heaven sect? Is there anything that they value? Is it because of those sealed gods? Since we've already said so much, there's no need for you guys to be so secretive anymore. Let's get to the point. The reason why you guys came to Firmament Star is because of the resources here, am I right? Chu Kuangren asked. The emperor's eyes flickered, and the place suddenly became quiet. What kind of resources are there on the Firmament Star that the emperors are so interested in? Ziwuji asked, puzzled. There might not be any now, but that doesn't mean there won't be any in the future. The heavenly Tao has been revived, and the spiritual chi between the heavens and earth has become more abundant. As the origin of the heavenly Tao, the Firmament Star's advantage is not something a man-made space like the 9 heavens can compare to. There are bound to be all kinds of treasures and opportunities of fortune in different places. Perhaps it's true that you've come to the Firmament Star to look after the gods' sealed grounds, but I'm sure it's more for the treasures and opportunities of fortune that will be born in the future. The places that you've chosen are mostly places with abundant spiritual chi in the Firmament Star, because the chances of treasures and opportunities of fortune being born in these places are higher. As for why you're so obsessed with the Black Heaven sect, it's because the Black Heaven sect is the dwelling place of the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix is a divine beast loved by the heavens and earth, and she possesses great fortune. The place where she resides is even more prosperous, so there's a higher chance of treasures being born. I wonder if I'm right, Chu Kuangren said. A hint of disappointment flashed across his eyes. So these are the emperors? He had learned from the Chaos Taoist Lord that many human sages had fought valiantly for the freedom of the human race against the gods. To him, those sages were the true emperors. As for these so-called emperors in front of him, they were using the name of looking after the gods for personal gain, but they still acted so secretive, as if they were afraid that others would see through them. I can't even be bothered to spend another minute with them. Chapter 659. At Chu Kuangren /s words, the emperor's faces turned grim. Lan Yu, Lung Ning Yu, and the others finally understood. So that /s how it is. Let /s go. Chu Kuangren led Lan Yu and Morong Xian to leave. Wait. At that moment, the emperor of the Qilin clan, Dark North Xuanzi, called out to Chu Kuangren. He said, "You can leave if you want, but you have to leave the Qilin clan /s Empyrean Neptune halberd behind. That /s the weapon of our emperor. The Empyrean Neptune halberd is my spoils of war. Although it /s useless to me now, I don't want to hand it over so easily." Oh, does that mean there is going to be a battle between you and me? Dark North Xuanzi took a step forward and unleashed his emperor /s aura, which swept towards Chu Kuangren like a raging wave. Think carefully. Are you sure you want to fight me? Chu Kuangren said. I heard that you /ve killed 5 new emperors the moment you became an emperor. I /d like to see how strong you /ve become. And if you /re on par with us old emperors. Without another word, Dark North Xuanzi unleashed a punch. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed between his fingers. And the emperor /s chi unleashed a tsunami-like force as if it wanted to crush everything in its path. Chu Kuangren did not retreat. Instead, he unleashed a punch at his opponent. When the two fists collided and the Taoist patterns collided, the huge force caused the void to tremble, and Dark North Xuanzi was blasted back dozens of feet. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren stood still on the spot. This guy /s strength is so strong. Dark North Xuanzi /s expression changed as he looked at Chu Kuangren in fear. Then he took out a long white staff with mysterious Taoist patterns flowing on it, causing his aura to rise again. With the emperor weapon in hand, Dark North Xuanzi attacked Chu Kuangren again. The majestic emperor /s aura surged out wave after wave. You shall be defeated. Merak strike. Dark North Sea Realm raised the staff in his hand high and smashed it down towards Chu Kuangren. A huge force blasted through the void and countless Taoist patterns spread out, wrapping around a huge torrential force and forming a giant whirlpool. Heaven's Vortex. Chu Kuangren activated his invincible technique and Taoist patterns intertwined on his palm to form a vortex. When the two vortexes collided, the power of Dark North Sea Realm's attack was quickly absorbed and disintegrated by Chu Kuangren's vortex. What? Just as Dark North Sea Realm was still in shock, a huge wave of energy suddenly rebounded from the vortex that Chu Kuangren had conjured. That was his power of water. With a bang, the staff in Dark North Xian's hand was blasted back once more. Profound, you've actually grasped the profound. Baiming Xiansei exclaimed. Not only him, but the others also felt that it was inconceivable. I didn't expect a new emperor to be able to grasp the profoundness. It is indeed unimaginable. Furthermore, judging from this profound aura, it is most likely not an ordinary one. Baiming Xiansei's strength isn't weak. He's in the 4th stage of the Emperor Realm, and is a late Emperor Realm expert. Yet, this new emperor was able to force him to retreat twice. To be able to unleash such strength, it's very likely to be a high-rank profound art. Profound mysteries were rare to begin with, not to mention a high-rank profound art. It's impolite not to reciprocate. Now it's my turn. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist suddenly shot out. Mysterious Taoist patterns flowed along the white jade-like blade, and a terrifying sword Dao aura erupted, forcing the surrounding emperors to retreat like a tidal wave. After the descendant self-sword circled around Chu Kuangren twice, it landed in his hand. With a gentle slash, a surge of invincible power erupted. Boom. A dazzling purple sword ray immediately tore through the void. The terrifying sword pressure locked onto Dark North Xian. Not good. Dark North Xian immediately pushed his strength to the limit and struck out with his staff at the sword ray. Under the collision of the Taoist patterns, the sword ray bounced off the staff like a hot knife through butter. Meanwhile, Dark North Xian was struck by the sword ray, and pieces of scales appeared on his body like a close-fitting armor. Even so, the powerful force still caused Dark North Sea Realm to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was sent flying by the sword ray and crashed into the ceiling of the ice palace, causing the entire palace to shake violently. A huge hole appeared in the ceiling, and Dark North Sea Realm was sent flying. However, Chu Kuangren had no intention of stopping there. He took a step forward and arrived outside the palace. With the sword in hand, he unleashed another slash. This time, the sword ray was far stronger than before. There was a horrifying scene of the sun and moon turning upside down, and the stars falling from the sky. Dark North Sea Realm felt a sense of panic in the face of this attack. I can't take this attack. I might die. Fine beads of cold sweat instantly formed on Dark North Sea Realm's forehead. Just when he was about to be hit by the sword ray, a stream of light swept past him and crashed into the sword ray like a meteor. When the two forces collided, it was as if two stars had collided. Cracks spread across the space, covering thousands of kilometers. The entire Snow Dragon Mountain looked like it was about to collapse. The huge impact sent Dark North Sea Realm flying a few hundred meters away. He looked at the white-robed middle-aged man in front of him and breathed a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren held the Descendant Self sword in his hand and looked at the Starform Emperor before him. What? Do you want to attack the new Emperor too? The Starform Emperor was a 9th-level Emperor Origin Realm cultivator. A top-notch full-circle Emperor. In terms of cultivation realm, Chu Kuangren had only just stepped into the Emperor realm. There was a world of difference between him and his opponent. However, even in the face of the Starform Emperor, whose cultivation realm was far higher than his, Chu Kuangren was still as calm as ever. When the other emperors saw this, they could not help but wonder. They did not know if Chu Kuangren was just putting on an act, or if he had a card up his sleeve. The Starform Emperor could not see through Chu Kuangren either, and he did not want to start a conflict with the new emperor now. However, since he was the leader of these emperors, he could not just sit back and watch Chu Kuangren kill Dark North Sea Realm in front of him. Brother Chu, where it is possible to forgive and forget, one should forgive and forget. Brother Dark North has indeed done something wrong. But if you want to kill him because of this, isn't that a bit too much? Why don't you just let this matter go? The Starform Emperor said. That's easy for you to say. He was the one who wanted to attack me, and I've asked him to reconsider. He was the one who insisted, so how can I be blamed? It's not that easy to let this matter rest. Then what do you want to do, Brother Chu? You should at least give me some compensation. Chu Kuangren said. It was not a wise move to start a conflict with the Starform Emperor. But it was impossible for him to just let this matter rest. Impossible. Dark North Sea Realm's expression darkened. Loser, you have no right to object. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. Then he looked at the Starform Emperor. He could tell that the emperors here were obviously led by this person. This is an Emperor-grade soul source. Is it enough? The Starform Emperor took out a golden crystal that contained extremely pure spiritual qi. It even had its own Emperor's qi. Chu Kuangren took the Emperor's soul source, played with it for a while, and then nodded. This Emperor's soul source was enough for his cultivation to improve further. It was not impossible for him to step into the second stage Emperor realm. I don't care how you want to divide the territory, but if anyone dares to touch the Black Heaven sect's territory, don't blame me for being merciless. Chu Kuangren glanced at the crowd and said coldly. After that, he left with Lan Yu and the others. Looking at Chu Kuangren's departing figure, the Starform Emperor's gaze was a little complicated. Is this the person that the Heavenly Honorables wanted me to pay attention to? He does have some character, but he's still a new emperor. He's still young and full of vigor. Chapter 660. A mere new emperor dares to be so arrogant. He's too arrogant. This time, it's not his turn to guard the deity seal anyway. The Black Heaven sect is just a small piece of land, so we'll just let him have it. That's right. Let's continue to plan out the perimeter. The emperors were rather displeased with Chu Kuangren's behavior. Then they ignored him. Lung Ningyu and Ziwuji did not leave with Chu Kuangren immediately. Instead, they discussed with the others. Ziwuji sensed that this was an opportunity, so he followed the emperors and marked out a piece of land on Firmament Star as his residence. Ningyu, why don't you go and look after the Celestial Forest mountain range? The spiritual qi there is abundant, and it's a treasure land. Based on the Heavenly Tao's recovery, there will be treasures appearing in less than 10 years. Lung Xian said to Lung Ningyu. Both of them were from the Seven Emotions sect. Although it was a long time ago, Lung Xian was still willing to take care of them for the sake of their friendship. Hence, she picked out a treasure land for her. Thank you, Brother Lung Xian, but I'm not sure if I want to stay on Firmament Star yet. Lung Ningyu smiled. I see. It's not a bad idea if you want to return to the Emperor's path. However, you must remember that becoming an emperor doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. Emperors must not interfere in the affairs of those below the Emperor realm. Lung Xian said solemnly. Firmament Star was currently in a special period. The emperors who were fighting in the extraterrestrial battlefields had not been replenished for hundreds of thousands of years, so they needed new emperors to replenish their combat strength. The emperors must not interfere in the affairs of those below the Emperor realm, to prevent the emperors from doing whatever they wanted with their strength. That was the agreement between the emperors. I understand, Lung Ningyu said. The emperors discussed for 3 days and 3 nights before they finally decided on the place to look after. Then, they went their separate ways. Lung Ningyu returned to the Black Heaven sect as well. She briefly told everyone about what happened after Chu Kuangren left. The emperors divided the Firmament Star into 300 prefectures, and each prefecture is guarded by an emperor. Among them, the Black Heaven sect is located in the Black Heaven Prefecture, which Chu Kuangren will be in charge of. However, the Black Heaven Prefecture is the smallest. It's only 100,000 kilometers wide with the Black Heaven sect at its center. After listening to Lung Ningyu, everyone fell into deep thought. It could be said that the emergence of the emperors had completely overturned the current power structure of the Firmament Star. From now on, the sage orthodoxies would become a thing of the past, and the emperors would be the true rulers of the Firmament Star. In fact, those orthodoxies were unable to resist at all. They were too weak before an emperor, and it was to the point that an emperor could crush them as easily as crushing a few ants. They could only listen and let it be. This is too much. A radius of 100,000 miles? How much territory do the other emperors control? Morong Xian asked with a frown. Other than the Xiantian Dao Prefecture, the smallest Dao Prefecture is 3 million miles wide, said Lung Ningyu indifferently. Even the smallest prefecture was dozens of times bigger than the Xiantian Dao Prefecture. It was obvious that these emperors were taking revenge on Chu Kuangren for his rudeness. This is interesting. Has the entire Firmament Star been divided? Chu Kuangren chuckled and asked. There are also some places that are either barren of spiritual energy or inauspicious and sensitive. No one wants them, so they are abandoned. Alright, I understand. Chu Kuangren nodded and said. Let's not bother with the emperors for now. Let's take care of the Black Heaven sect first. He had once said that he did not care how the emperors divided their territories, as long as they did not target the Black Heaven sect. Compared to the emperors dividing their territories, Chu Kuangren was more concerned about the extraterrestrial battlefield and the great calamity that had lasted until now. He planned to stay in Firmament Star for a while before heading to the extraterrestrial battlefield to hone his skills and take a look at the so-called Blood Tribe. His path of cultivation had not reached its end yet. The emperors were not the end, but a new starting point for him. As time passed, the 300 Taoist prefectures that were divided by the emperors gradually entered the public's view. Every cultivator knew that times had changed. In the past, the emperors were nowhere to be seen, but now the emperors were dominating the Firmament Star. Many people did not have the time to react. At the same time, besides the emperors, the orthodoxies from the 9 heavens had also sent many cultivators to the firmament star. With the emperor's permission, they set up branches of their orthodoxies on firmament star. Now that the heavenly Tao had been revived, they had their eyes on firmament star as well. Emperors, ancient orthodoxies, ancient orthodoxies. These existences that had long turned into ancient legends in firmament star appeared one by one, causing the cultivators of firmament star to fall into a state of shock. However, the tide of time would not stop because of anyone. As the wheel of history rolled forward, some cultivators who could not keep up with the changes of the times were abandoned and turned into cannon fodder. At the same time, many people took advantage of the situation to rise and shine. It had been more than a year since Chu Kuangren and the others became emperors. And in this year, the changes on firmament star were unprecedented. The heavenly Tao had been revived, the spiritual qi had become more abundant, and the great Tao had manifested, making cultivation easier for the cultivators. Chu Kuangren even heard that there were several old emperors who ascended the emperor's mountain from the emperor's path, and became emperors there. However, Chu Kuangren did not pay much attention to these things. He was also cultivating now. After a year of cultivation, although he did not make much progress in his cultivation realm, he only managed to ascend to the second stage emperor realm after refining an emperor-grade spiritual source. This showed how difficult it was to progress in the emperor realm. It was not surprising that some emperors did not make much progress even after hundreds of thousands of years. On this day, in the Black Heaven sect, suddenly, a fiery light shot into the sky. Then, a majestic emperor's aura swept out and spread across the entire firmament star. In the towering heaven palace, Chu Kuangren opened his eyes. He looked at the sky in surprise and murmured, "This energy, it's Lil Red. Lil Red is about to ascend." His eyes lit up, and he walked out of the Taoist palace. The clouds in the sky were dyed red by a brilliant red light, and in the middle of the red clouds, a huge ball of fire was burning. A domineering emperor's aura spread out from it. Within the flames, a figure could be vaguely seen. It was the godly phoenix. The Black Heaven sect's disciples were startled by the godly phoenix. One by one, they rushed out to watch the godly phoenix ascend. Gradually, the emperor's aura became stronger, so much so that even some of the emperors in the outer domain could feel it. This is the ultimate Tao. There's a living being that has attained the ultimate Tao. This energy, is it a divine beast? Is it a godly phoenix nurtured by the heavens and earth? No wonder it can attain the ultimate Tao. The godly phoenix and true dragon are auspicious beasts that are favored by the heavens and earth. They are not inferior to some of the ancient innate gods, so it's not unimaginable that it can attain the ultimate Tao. These living beings that are blessed by the heavens and earth have an advantage over humans in terms of Tao. The emperors could not help but exclaim. Meanwhile, in the Black Heaven sect, the godly phoenix's ascension to the emperor realm was celebrated by the heavens and earth. Tens of thousands of auspicious lights shone down and illuminated the entire Black Heaven sect. Many disciples were more or less enlightened by the auspicious lights. Meanwhile, the godly phoenix in the sky absorbed the spiritual qi from hundreds of thousands of kilometers around it. With the heavenly Tao's blessing, it began to condense emperor's aura. Chapter 661. With the heavenly Tao's blessing and the influx of endless spiritual qi, the godly phoenix began to condense emperor essence. Its speed was no slower than Chu Kuangren refining the chaotic qi in the coffin. In the end, the godly phoenix condensed a supreme tier emperor essence. Supreme tier emperor essence, the ultimate Tao. Compared to Chu Kuangren's ultimate emperor essence, the perfect Tao was not inferior at all. A divine beast was indeed a divine beast. As the godly phoenix became an emperor, a large amount of spiritual qi boiled within the Black Heaven sect's boundary like a mist that shrouded tens of thousands of kilometers. Amidst the mist, treasures were forming one after another. There were countless supreme-tier spiritual sources, spiritual marrows, treasure ores and more. *CKME, the godly phoenix's Taoist ascension is indeed extraordinary. So many treasures have been born in such a short time. TSK, this is too extraordinary. Quick, send someone to collect them. All hail the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix was an auspicious beast that was blessed with great fortune. The land where the godly phoenix resided was affected by the godly phoenix's chi, and it was a place of great prosperity. The godly phoenix's Taoist ascension was celebrated by the heavens and earth, and many treasures were born between heaven and earth. Chu Kuangren could not help but marvel at everything that was happening. He knew such a phenomenon occurred not only because of the godly phoenix's Taoist ascension, but also because of the heavenly Tao's revival. If the heavenly Tao's power was insufficient, such a phenomenon would not occur even if the godly phoenix ascended 10 times. That's... All of a sudden, Chu Kuangren sensed a powerful burst of energy within the Black Heaven sect's territory. It was the aura of some kind of treasure. Chu Kuangren's figure flashed, and arrived at the top of a mountain. There was a giant parasol tree on the top of the mountain. On the tree, there was a fist-sized fiery red fruit that looked like a crystal-clear gemstone. Bursts of fruity fragrance filled the air, making one salivate. Parasol fruit? This is one of the 10 great spirit fruits, the divine parasol fruit. Chu Kuangren could not help but be surprised. The 10 great spirit fruits were the most talked about spirit fruits in Firmament Star since ancient times. Each of them was created by the heavens and earth, and had endless uses. Chu Kuangren had once obtained the divine white spirit fruit. Now the second one was in front of him, the divine parasol fruit. I didn't expect this spirit fruit to be born after the divine phoenix proved its Tao. However, it looks like it will still take some time before it ripens. Fine, let me give you a hand. Chu Kuangren took out pieces of spiritual sources and placed them in a specific position. Then surges of spiritual chi surged towards him from all directions and surged towards the divine parasol fruit. This was a spirit gathering formation. It could quickly gather the surrounding spiritual energy. With the support of this array formation, the divine parasol fruit ripened much faster, and a strange spiritual fruit fluctuation spread out. Initially, the commotion caused by the godly phoenix's Tao verification had already attracted the attention of the emperors on the firmament star. Now the appearance of the divine parasol fruit made some of the emperors even more envious. The new emperor's luck is too good. Not only did the divine phoenix recognize him as its master, but there are also various treasures that have appeared in the land. The land where the divine phoenix is located is filled with outstanding people. It is indeed not a joke. This Wutong divine fruit is one of the 10 great spirit fruits. It is specially used to raise one's cultivation. This divine fruit is worth more than 100 emperor-grade spirit sources. It is enough to raise a small perfection emperor to great perfection emperor. It would be great if a treasure like this appeared in my land. He's just a new emperor. How can he possess such a treasure? Some of the emperors looked at the divine parasol fruit and could no longer hold themselves back. If this divine parasol fruit grew in the land of other emperors, they might be envious, but they would not do anything unnecessary. However, Chu Kuangren was just a new emperor, a young guy who had just ascended to emperor a few years ago. He did not have any prestige among the emperors. No, this divine parasol fruit is of great use to me. I can't let it go just like that. One of the emperors gritted his teeth, turned into a stream of light, and disappeared on the spot, arriving at the Black Heaven sect's land. At the mountain peak, where the divine parasol fruit was, Chu Kuangren sensed the arrival of an emperor, and a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. He then looked at the person who had arrived. It was a white-robed emperor with a fan in his hand. He had an elegant demeanor like a scholar. However, when the other party looked at the divine parasol fruit, the greed in his eyes did not escape Chu Kuangren's eyes. I knew that some people wouldn't be able to sit still when the divine parasol fruit has appeared. Well, it's time to use a few people to establish my dominance. Chu Kuangren murmured. He knew that he was a new emperor, and he had almost no prestige among the emperors. Hence people often came to provoke him. Jianfeng, dark north black color, and this person in front of him. It was easy to change this situation. All he had to do was show enough strength. Brother Chu, I have an emperor-grade spiritual source here. I'd like to use it to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. What do you think? The scholarly emperor took out an emperor-grade spiritual source and smiled. Are you out of your mind? Chu Kuangren glanced at him and said bluntly. No matter how ignorant he was, he knew that the divine parasol fruit was not something an emperor-grade spiritual source could compare to. Brother Chu, if you don't want to exchange, then don't. Why do you have to be so rude and hurt our friendship? The scholarly emperor said with a gloomy expression. I find this funny. You're using an emperor-grade spiritual source to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. That's no different from robbery, and you still have the nerve to talk about friendship with me? Chu Kuangren sneered. Haha, Brother Chu, you're right. This guy's skin is really thick. At that moment, a coarse laughter was heard. A muscular emperor walked over. The person's aura was surging and wild, like a wild beast. Through the eye of revelation, Chu Kuangren had learned that the emperor in front of him was a wild beast, and his true form was the adamantine bear. Xiongquang, what's the meaning of this? The scholarly emperor's expression darkened. What's the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious enough? Emperor Xiongquang pouted. Then he took out a golden armor and said, Brother Chu, this is an emperor weapon. I'll use it to exchange for this divine parasol fruit. What do you think? The Taoist patterns on that armor circulated. It was a defensive emperor weapon. Emperor Xiongquang's true form was the adamantine bear, and this type of wild beast was best at defense. There was no need for this emperor weapon at all. That was why he took it out to exchange with Chu Kuangren. However, Chu Kuangren only glanced at it once before he looked away. He had the immortal body, so a defensive emperor weapon was not that useful to him. Besides, this emperor weapon could not be used to exchange for the divine parasol fruit. I'm not exchanging. Brother Chu, I'm a straightforward person, so I'll just say it directly. Today you'll have to exchange for this divine parasol fruit no matter what. Emperor Xiongquang grinned. Then why waste your breath? Come at me. The descendant self-sword at Chu Kuangren's waist shot out and landed in his hand. He raised his arm and slashed, tearing a crack in the void. He then lifted his foot and walked into the void. The scholarly emperor and Emperor Xiongquang followed closely behind him. Surges of emperors' thoughts surged from all directions into the void, observing the battle between the new emperor and the veteran emperors. Chu Kuangren had already displayed his full strength back at the Snow Dragon Mountain. However, he did not go all out that time. The emperors wanted to see what the new emperor's limit was. Chapter 662. In the void, Chu Kuangren was facing off against two veteran emperors alone. Both of them were very strong, being great emperors. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren was only a lesser emperor at the second-layer emperor realm. His chances of winning against the two of them were slim. Brother Chu, we're not the same as that guy from the Qilin clan. He's only at the fourth-layer emperor realm while we're at the sixth layer. The difference between two layers is not something you can imagine. Emperor Wild Bear let out a low growl, and an overbearing emperor's aura suddenly erupted from his body as surges of emperor's qi circulated around his body. He took the lead and punched out. The wind generated by his punch shattered a spatial turbulence in the void, and swept out with a wild aura. Chu Kuangren raised his hand and unleashed a sword attack. The sword qi shattered the fist wind with a bang. Then, he unleashed his technique of invincibility, and unleashed a terrifying sword attack that caused the sun and moon to reverse. Emperor Wild Bear let out a low growl as surges of emperor's qi intertwined on his body. Taoist patterns circulated, and formed a giant golden bear silhouette. Roar! It was followed by a roar. The giant golden bear silhouette slammed its palm onto the sword ray. Amidst the explosion, the giant golden bear was pushed back a few kilometers, and the sword ray that Chu Kuangren unleashed was also shattered into sword qi. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. Oh, to be able to block my technique of invincibility. Interesting. You're indeed stronger than that emperor from the Qilin clan, but I wonder how much stronger you guys are compared to him. He raised his hand again and unleashed several more sword rays. The terrifying energy caused Emperor Wild Bear's expression to change slightly. This guy really does have combat strength that far surpasses his peers in the same realm. The giant golden bear silhouette behind him let out a series of angry roars as it continuously attacked with its claws. Every attack set off a violent airflow. Bang, bang, bang. A few consecutive explosions were heard as the giant claws and sword rays collided. Emperor Wild Bear's figure was constantly pushed back. However, Chu Kuangren's sword rays did not stop at all. F*CK, you be *starred. Why are you still watching? What are you waiting for? Great Emperor Xiong Kuang roared at the scholarly emperor. Let's see if you still dare to speak so rudely. The refined emperor grunted lightly, and then he attacked as well. He knew that he might not be able to snatch the divine parasol fruit by himself. Hence, he could only team up with Great Emperor Xiong Kuang. Majestic Emperor Qi and Dao runes erupted from his body, intertwining in the void and forming a huge green shadow. It was an illusory figure shrouded in a storm. Its face could not be seen clearly, and it was surrounded by an incomparably powerful storm force. Heavenly Wind Dharma Idol. The scholarly emperor let out a soft cry, and the shadow that was shrouded in the storm behind him slowly raised its hand and attacked Chu Kuangren. Oh, the power of transcendence! Try mine. 10,000 Daos. Chu Kuangren said indifferently. The power of the Taoist bodies in his body exploded at the same time. A multicolored Dharma idol appeared, and then a surge of Dharma energy that shocked even the two veteran emperors instantly erupted. The heavenly wind Dharma idol was knocked back by this power. How is this possible? This is the power of the Taoist body? Why did this Dharma power contain so many different Dharma power auras? Crimson Sun Taoist physique, Frost Taoist physique, exquisite 9 orifices sword heart, holy radiant physique. There's even a chaos physique. Both Great Emperor Xiong Kuang and the refined emperor widened their eyes. It was not that they had never seen the power of the Taoist body before. However, they had never seen or even heard of the power of so many Taoist bodies concentrated in one Dharma idol before. The other emperors who were watching the battle were also stunned. So many Taoist body physique powers concentrated in one person. This kind of thing was simply a fantasy story. How? How did he do it? Unbelievable. This is simply unbelievable. Oh my God, is this guy really human? This has never happened before. Even the Starfall Emperor could not help but gulp. No wonder the Heavenly Honorables told me to pay more attention to him. I can't believe something like this actually happened. This is just too unbelievable. How did he do it? Emperors were not omnipotent. Even emperors would be shocked. Now, Chu Kuangren had shocked the emperors like never before. Zi Wuji was also watching the battle. He could not help but let out a soft sigh. Before he became an emperor, he was already a legend among the younger generation. Even after becoming an emperor, he can still create miracles. How can such a person exist in this world? He might not be able to catch up to Chu Kuangren in this lifetime. In the void, Chu Kuangren unleashed his 10,000 Dharma idols. Compared to a year ago, his 10,000 Dharma idols now had a few more Taoist body powers. They were Morong Xian's Crimson Sun Taoist physique, Nangong Huang's Yinyang God Eye, and Shang Qingshue's Frost Taoist physique. He even took the time to go to the Emperor's Road to gain insights on the Mystic Sword Guard's Fallen Darkness Taoist physique. The power of the 10,000 Dharma idols was on another level compared to before. Come, let's see how many of my Dharma idols' attacks you guys can withstand, Chu Kuangren said. The Dharma idol behind him moved and unleashed a punch. The power of the many Taoist physiques mixed together and formed an indescribable Taoist strength. That power was too terrifying. The moment scholarly emperor's heavenly tempest avatar collided with the Dharma idol, it was shattered by the Dharma idol's power. Emperor Xiong Kuang gulped, extremely shocked. Too powerful. Too terrifying. A second-stage emperor could completely suppress two sixth-stage realm cultivators like them. No, it could be said that they were completely crushed. This kind of battle prowess to challenge someone of a higher level was too shocking. Vajra strength. Emperor Xiong Kuang stepped forward and let out an angry roar. His roar was like thunder, and the sound waves spread out wildly. Then, the giant golden bear shadow charged towards Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Dharma idols, its two giant palms containing the terrifying Vajra strength. That attack seemed to be able to shatter the stars in the sky. However, Chu Kuangren's 10,000 Dharma idols did not retreat even a single step. Boom! A punch was unleashed. The void turbulence shattered. The fist wind swept across, and the various Taoist physique powers mixed together. Before it even landed on the giant bear shadow, it had already shattered the two giant palms. Then, that punch forcefully annihilated the giant bear shadow. The remaining power swept across, sending the two veteran emperors flying. Chu Kuangren's powerful combat strength shocked the onlooking emperors. Emperor Xiongquang and scholarly emperor's eyes were filled with fear. They looked at Chu Kuangren with goosebumps all over their bodies. How can there be an emperor like that? How can this guy's combat strength be so strong? Both emperors' bodies were trembling. Meanwhile, Chu Kuangren took a step forward, and a surge of emperor's aura emanated from his body. The 10,000 Dharma idols behind him followed suit. He raised his hand and suppressed. The giant Dharma idol's hands locked onto scholarly emperor. No! Scholarly emperor unleashed an attack with all his might. One after another, Taoist patterns wrapped in a storm and landed on the 10,000 Dharma idol's giant hands. However, the 10,000 Dharma idol's power was too strong. Scholarly emperor's attack did not have any effect at all, and the moment it came into contact, the Taoist patterns on it shattered. With a loud bang, scholarly emperor's body was blasted apart. Chapter 663. Although you're in the 6th level Emperor realm, you only have ordinary Daos and Emperor essences. You haven't even understood the mysteries, so your combat strength is only so. Now it's your turn. Chu Kuangren looked at Emperor Kuangbear. This emperor from the Wild Beast clan gulped, his eyes filled with fear. He no longer had the slightest intention to fight. He opened up the void and escaped. Chu Kuangren curled his lips at that. Where can I run to? He returned to the real world in a flash. Run. That was Emperor Kuangbear's only thought. He really couldn't figure out how a new emperor in the 2nd stage of the Emperor realm could have such a terrifying battle strength. A 6th level emperor like him was powerless before his opponent. Where do you think you're going? While Emperor Kuangbear was escaping, a silvery voice suddenly rang out. Then, a tremor that came from the depths of his bloodline caused his pupils to shrink. In front of him was a young lady in a red dress. The young lady had waist-length black hair, a slim figure, red lips, and white teeth. There was a hint of nobility in between her brows, as if she was a noble lady. You're the godly phoenix. The godly phoenix that just ascended to the Emperor realm. Emperor Kuangbear's expression changed. Not daring to be careless, he hurriedly channeled all his strength and punched the godly phoenix. Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Chu Hong from the Black Heaven sect. The godly phoenix Chu Hong said. Then, she gently raised her hand and pressed her slender arm against Emperor Kuangbear's sandbag-sized fist. A gust of wind blew, sending shockwaves everywhere. Chu Hong's crimson dress fluttered in the wind, but she did not move an inch. A cold glint flashed in her golden eyes. Little bear, how dare you cause trouble in the Black Heaven sect? With a light snort, Chu Hong's jade-white palm suddenly emitted a large amount of golden flames, covering the entire arm of the wild bear emperor. The Taoist patterns in the flames intertwined with the emperor's qi, and in an instant, Emperor Kuangbear's arm was burnt to a crisp. A blood-curdling scream rang out. Seeing that the flames were still moving towards the other parts of his body, Great Emperor Xiongquang decisively revolved his monarch qi and forcefully blew off his arm. He retreated and looked at Chu Hong in fear. Chu Hong threw the charred arm to the side and curled her lips. 6th heaven of the Emperor Chu. This is too weak. When Great Emperor Xiongquang heard her words, he didn't know how to refute. Indeed, Chu Hong had just stepped into the Emperor realm, but she could easily crush him. A 6th-stage Emperor realm emperor. Looking at it this way, his 6th stage of the Emperor origin realm was really too weak. But could he be blamed for this? It could only be said that the divine phoenix was too blessed by the heavens. The moment he stepped into the Emperor realm, He was already at the peak of the Emperor realm. His peak Great Emperor origin energy. In addition to the phoenix fire that was said to be able to incinerate all living things in the world, his combat strength was too strong. Chu Kuangren is already so powerful. Now that he has this godly phoenix, D***, I was too reckless. Great Emperor Bear Kuang was extremely vexed. If he knew this was going to happen, he would not have dared to come. Godly Phoenix, since we're both beasts, please let me go. I'll repay you handsomely in the future. Great Emperor Bear Kuang said. Only death awaits those who dare to invade my Black Heaven sect. Chu Hong was merciless. She raised her hand and activated the phoenix fire again. The Taoist patterns that were formed from the ultimate Taoist path emitted a terrifying fluctuation. D***. If that's the case, then let's perish together. Great Emperor Bear Kuang roared. Then he transformed into his true form. A giant golden bear the size of a hill. Its fur emanating a metallic luster that gave it a sense of indestructibility. The phoenix fire landed on it and charred its fur black, but it could not really burn its skin. The Adamantine Bear clan has a strong physical body, and this fur is comparable to an emperor weapon. Your phoenix fire may be terrifying, and I can't even defend myself in my human form. But now that I've transformed into my true form, it won't be easy for you to burn me again. Great Emperor Bear Kuang roared. Even though he only had one arm left, he still charged towards Chu Hong with a terrifying aura. With a swipe of his claw, cracks appeared in the void. Just when Chu Hong was about to retaliate, a sword ray suddenly flashed past and sent Great Emperor Bear Kuang flying. Then, a giant colorful hand descended from the sky and grabbed the mountain like Great Emperor Bear Kuang in midair, rendering him immobile. It was Chu Kuangren's Thousand Taoist avatar. Let go, let go. Great Emperor Bear Kuang roared. Unfortunately, even if he transformed into his true form, he could not fight back against Chu Kuangren's Thousand Taoist avatar, which was a combination of multiple Taoist physiques. Die. Chu Kuangren said. The Thousand Taoist avatar suddenly exerted its strength, and a series of explosions rang out like frying beans. The Taoist patterns, bones, and flesh on Great Emperor Bear Kuangren's body exploded one after another, and he was forcefully crushed into a pile of meat paste. After that, Chu Kuangren simply threw the body into the mountains. In an instant, countless beasts that lived in the Black Heaven sect's territory swarmed up and divided the emperor's body for food. Many of the beasts broke through, and their strength increased greatly. An emperor's body was no different from a peerless treasure to them. Lil Red, congratulations on becoming an emperor. Chu Kuangren looked at Chu Hong and smiled. Brother, you're amazing. This little bear's body is so tough that even my phoenix flames can't easily destroy it. I can't believe your avatar could crush it so easily. Chu Hong exclaimed as she looked at the Thousand Taoist avatar behind Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren dispersed the Thousand Taoist avatar and looked at Chu Hong. Suddenly, he had an idea. His book of physiques could derive the mysteries of thousands of physiques in the world. Could he derive the godly phoenix physique as well? Just as that thought came to his mind, the book of physiques in the depths of his soul trembled. Then, in Chu Kuangren's vision, a fiery red ball of light appeared on Chu Hong's body. It contained countless Taoist patterns. That was the origin of the godly phoenix physique. Understanding this origin would allow one to master the power of the godly phoenix physique. It really works. Chu Kuangren's eyes lit up. He suddenly understood something. The book of physiques was used to derive the thousands of physiques in the world, but it was not limited to the various Taoist physiques. Every race had a different physique, and these were all within the scope of the book of physiques. Except for the human Taoist physiques. The physiques of other races could also be learned. For example, the various ancient beasts. Looks like I'll have more research materials in the future. Chu Kuangren murmured. Then, he and Chu Hong waited for the divine parasol fruit to ripen. During that time, he also began to study the godly phoenix physique. Chu Hong was very cooperative. Divine beasts were indeed divine beasts. Their physiques alone were not something any Taoist physique could compare to. Even the strongest Taoist physique, the chaotic physique, was slightly inferior to the godly phoenix physique. After the divine parasol fruit ripened, Chu Kuangren spent a full 10 days to understand less than 1/10 of the godly phoenix physique. However, he was not in a hurry. He would continue his research when he returned to the Black Heaven sect. After a few months, he finally understood the mysteries of the godly phoenix physique, and he also mastered the ability to control the phoenix flames. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.